Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here Wednesday morning. Wow, Wednesday, and we've got a lot to cover. There's all kinds of stories that have happened the last couple of days. And because of the shortened stream yesterday, due to the emergency with Adriana's grandmother, I didn't feel like I did any justice to the discussion that we wanted to have yesterday with the WNBA and many other subjects yesterday. So we will definitely doing a whole stream dedicated to discussion today and talking about current event issues today. Monique, this is your bread and butter. We love talking about current events with Monique. She's so good at directing the conversation with the great subjects. Today is definitely a day where I will need cue cards. Dana's in first. Canadian Dana first in. Thank God I don't have a lot of friends. I like to stay out of gossiping and drama. Thank you, Trevor J. So wise. All right, Trevor J's got words of wisdom. Be careful what you say and gossip about each other, like talking about things you think you know about, but not know. Not because you heard it somewhere doesn't mean it's true. Now, this is something I have to struggle with a lot here on this channel, because a lot of what I'm doing is hearsay. Now, one of the things that I try to do very smartly about this is I very much try to take words out of their mouths, like horse's mouth. I hear an interview with a Raptor player or coach or the GM or Masai Ujiri. I very much am trying to quote them for the pretty much how they would say or what they have said. So when I say somebody said something, I really try to represent them fairly. Now, some of the problem is, I infer things also on this channel, and that is dangerous. Some of what I do on this channel can be very dangerous to Trevor J's words of wisdom. But in your own life, it can be destructive. Like if you are a busybody and you're trying to get too much in other people's business, they could be your very good friend and you care about them, but you could do damage to their life because you think that you know what's going on and you don't. So there's all kinds of ways that, in some ways you just need to stick to your own business and not get involved in other people's stuff. And especially, this is something you shouldn't do just in general. Gossiping is a bad activity just in general, because in some ways it is very damaging to different people unfairly sometimes because it's not the right way. One of the ways you got to look at it is everybody has a different perspective in life. And just because your perspective of somebody else's life is a certain way doesn't mean you should go around talking about them in that certain way, because the perspective of their life and their own life may not be the same. There's a lot of good examples of this. And I know I can be guilty of this. I'll own up to this. And if I am egregiously wrong with a take or gossiping about an NBA player or a thing like that, I will say something about it. But in some ways, what Trevor's describing is a very big part of sports media at this point. Gossip, left and right. And it can be very damaging. Now, in your own personal life, you want to limit people that are kind of loose lips, sink ships around you. If you're telling your friends some of your personal information and they're going around and blabbing it to people that you don't want to hear it, well, you shouldn't trust that friend and shouldn't be telling them that stuff anyway. So yeah, gossip can be very damaging, but gossip can also have some benefits. It can actually help be a cautionary tale. It can also help somebody. In some ways, there's good gossip. That in some ways, if somebody's in trouble and they have pride and they don't want to tell anybody they're in trouble, well, somebody could go say something to somebody, and that's technically gossip, and that person gets help all of a sudden. So the word isn't inherently bad all the time, because sharing information between people can be very helpful for community and society. But also, if it's not in a good-hearted way or mean-spirited way, then that's a problem. It could be a very, very big problem. All right. Thanks for the words of wisdom, Trevor J. As always, good morning, Raptor Freak family. Thank you, Trevor J. I hope you're well and good wherever you are right now in your travels with your job. And all the best to you, sir, as always. Yes, I love it. Infamous is here. Salute, family. Good to see you, Infamous. Always good to see you in the chat. Logical Raptors fanatics. Salute the real ones. Project Truth always. Mike is in the house. Mike G in the house. Wieskamp became cuttable, and I think we need more guard depth to fix how the bench was fitting. All right, I made a spreadsheet with my look at the current roster of the Raptors, and I am trying to suss out exactly where we are kind of with things. And it looks like, Josh Lewinberg has said that we have two ways open and one roster spot. Now, what I expect to happen, Mike, is that one roster spot will stay ambiguously open all the way through training camp, right up until almost the start of the season. That is the carrot put in front of everybody coming in training camp, and that they'll invite 20 people to be around the team, and they're going to cut two of them. And then, everybody else will be on the team, either as a two-way or a regular roster member, or even, that exhibit 10 of David O'Banner, he could be the 19th person cut, and just like Gabe Brown last year, and just playing on the 905. So in some ways, we're going to get 20 players around our team very soon. And really, in reality, I think only one of them will get cut at the end of, or one of them will get cut, because there'll be 15 players, regular players, 3 two-ways, 1 exhibit 10, and then there's a 20th guy. And these are unknown to an extent. Now, the weird thing is Jeff Dowtin is kind of not being counted right now. Is he going to be counted as a two-way, or is he going to be a regular roster spot? And that's something to be debated. Joe Weezy getting cut could very well be that's Jeff Dowtin's roster spot now. We may find this out this week right away. But in some ways, and this isn't totally fair to Dowtin in some ways, they want to leave that spot open for flexibility, just in case somebody just comes in and knocks their socks off in training camp and preseason as far as being a full roster player. I'd hate to think that Jeff is actually in contest for that full roster spot. I believe he already earned it. He should have gotten it converted at the end of last season. So in some ways, there's not very much wiggle room with the regular roster, but there's definitely some two ways that can possibly be reached up and grabbed by somebody who just gets invited to our training camp roster. Now, I have 20 names on my spreadsheet. I'll go ahead and put the link in here. Now, this is just the way I look at it right now. This is not official or anything like that, but I put a spreadsheet in the chat if you guys want to look at it. And basically, the guys in yellow are not officially on the team right now. Everybody who's not got a yellow box is on the team under contract at this point. Now, that's what I'm saying. Jeff Dowtin and Ron Harper Jr. have both not actually signed for this season coming up. They are free agents still right now. And it could very well be they're waiting to do anything with those guys, depending on how training camp goes. And also the stuff with Lillard. In some ways, Damian Lillard's holding up a lot of different things for different teams, because they're all trying to see how the landscape of the NBA is going to change with a Lillard possible change, or maybe even a Harden change, stuff like that. So I think the Raptors are really trying to keep not only a sense of competition for the end of the roster to try and make the team, but also flexibility to be able to make moves really quickly just in case something's happening. It's kind of like you can't just fill in the whole puzzle. You've got to have that little wiggle room with the roster, the salary, and certain not confirming certain things yet. Now, I hate that for Jeff, because in some ways, I think Jeff deserves to just know his destiny right now. And it could very well be he does know on the down low, and he's just not telling anybody, or the Raptors aren't telling anybody either, because Jeff deserves a full roster spot on the Raptors this year. I'm sorry. That's just how I look at it. Now, other names that we could get into mix for that other two ways, those two ways are my favorite, Mo Gee, of course, Mohamedou Gee, Moses Brown, Ron Harper Jr. These guys could be filling in some of those two ways, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see in the battles leading up to things. But yeah, I think Mike's right. Wieskamp became cuttable when Gradey kind of showed up with some of those skills. Gary Trent Jr. Opted into his contract. There's a couple of different ways that it happened. Once again, the problem with Joe Weezy is he has one job that's really, really, really crucial to what he's doing. And if he doesn't do that job correctly, well, then in some ways he's kind of worthless. I don't care how good he rebounds. I don't care if he blocks shots. I don't care if he can go to the basket. I care about him hitting open threes. And if he's not doing that, then that's not count. We can't count on him. And this is why he got waived on Monday. So, yeah, it's crazy, Mike. Always good to see you. Check out Logical Raptors Fanatics YouTube channel. Very informative, very factual, very logical, and very, very, very much educational for everybody in Raptors Nation to learn more about the CBA and other stuff around the team. All kinds of stuff Mike's covering over there. I love that channel so much. I highly recommend it. Let's see. Randolph saying, greetings, beloved Raptor freaks, most informed of the game. May the Lord shower you and yours with his choicest blessings today and always. Wow, Randolph. Thank you for the very powerful blessings and very powerful blessings right back to you, your family, and all your friends, and even all the ordinary, regular, everyday people you run across all the time. That's right. And I love this. That's right. Extra choicest blessings, y'all. Let's go get them today. Let's make it happen and feel gratitude for the great life that you have. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke is here. Guten Morgen. Last year, I found myself regularly watching a 20-year-old on Twitch. This year, I have found enjoyment from Dennis Schroder's YouTube channel. And what do you think of him criticizing Maxi Kleber? Thank you, Tom, for the great setup. Just like on a volleyball sand court, Tom's setting it like this. And I'm just going to come over here and go, wah. Listen, this whole thing with Maxi Kleber just started in the last day or so. I was going to talk about it yesterday, but of course, we didn't have time. Maxi Kleber did not play for the German team last year. This has kind of been going on for a little bit, and it's really dumb in some ways. Listen, I am on Dennis's side. I don't think he's out of pocket in certain ways. I think in some ways people want to make him seem like he's out of pocket. You know, a lot of people are already talking about Dennis is a shit disturber. He kind of gets in people's faces because he tells them what he doesn't like about certain things. I like that in people. Seriously, it's much better to be honest and get your shit out and talk about it than to bubble underneath and kind of hold resentments. So Dennis, being that kind of person, I value that, and I'm not against it. Now people are looking at this and like, look, what, he just pissed off Maxi Kleber and he doesn't want to play for Germany now. Basically, if y'all don't know the story, basically Dennis Schroder is the team captain of Germany. He's been a very important player on the German national team for a few years now. And Maxi Kleber is a younger German player for the Dallas Mavericks. And last year, Maxi had an injury after the NBA season. He had been playing with it for a few months, and he decided not to participate in the Team Germany competition last year at the Euro World Cup, where Germany did actually very, very well. They were like one of the top 6 teams in the whole tournament. So, you know, they didn't necessarily miss Kleber, but Schroder kind of like was like, why are you not playing? You're a jerk for not playing. He was coming down on him for not being dedicated to Germany and coming and playing. He's like, well, I want to work on some things with my game and I want to heal up. And Schroder basically said in his statement yesterday, what do you need to work on? You're good at what you do already in the NBA. What are you trying to expand or do with your game? Just come and play for us or show support for your country. And he just doesn't like the flakiness of it. Well, Maxi's trying to say that he would play for Team Germany this summer, but he doesn't feel welcome at this point because of Schroder's outspokenness. I can look at this a couple different ways. You know, in some ways, Kleber, whatever, live your life. Schroeder's allowed to live his life and have his own opinion. You don't want to play for them. He's allowed to be like what he's thinking and whatever he wants. That's fine. So I don't know. Of course, I'm going to take the Raptors side. And I don't think that this is a problem or we should be worried about this for Schroeder's personality around the Raptors. I think he's going to be, I don't know. Some people are saying he just rubs people the wrong way along his career, but I don't believe that. In some ways, I feel like he gets unfairly judged because in some ways he's a valued veteran in this league for a while, but nobody gives him that credit. They kind of look at him and like, oh, Dennis Schroder. He's like, you know, they don't give him enough respect just for what he's accomplished in the NBA. And he should be able to be outspoken as a vet and telling younger players how they should probably, you know, conduct themselves. This is a weird controversy. It is what it is. But Tom, I love Dennis's channel and his wife's channel. I was watching Ellen Schroeder's channel also last night. Very cool little family they have. They have very much documented their vacation to Mexico earlier this summer, and it's fun to see the 3 Schroeder kids with the parents and traveling, and just the way he's a dad. Just some really good stuff. Like, we get to know who Dennis is. This is part of the reason why I like his channel, is because much like Scotty being on Twitch all last summer, we really get to know Dennis as a person in everyday kind of situations, how he acts, how he interacts with people. One of the things we know about Dennis is wherever he goes, he's always willing to take photos with fans. And his wife's saying he's like, he just loves doing it. It's not a big deal. And the fans, it means so much to them. So that's something about Dennis that's pretty cool. He's approachable and he doesn't mind taking pictures with people. Very much enjoys doing it actually and seeing the joy on people's faces. Dennis is such an interesting guy. Like we find out in one of the clips when he's going back to Germany after the end of the season with the Lakers last season, that he has a lot of trouble just getting into his home country. They always stop him and like search his stuff and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, apparently this return to Germany this summer, they didn't go through his stuff or make him go in the back room. And his wife was like, this is a first. I think in the whole time I've known Dennis, I've never, ever not seen him get through customs in Germany like nothing. And this is a guy who's a born German citizen, and they still harass him coming in his own country after the end of the season. It's crazy. But I really love his channel. He's got certain characters on it, like Alex, who helps them out at their house, and Joel, his German buddy who films it. So you get to know the characters if you go watch Dennis's stuff. And he has all kinds of different interesting things that he films about. They just built him a game room back in Germany, and it's really nice. And it's just a cool channel. Definitely check out Dennis's stuff and get to know him. You'll see who the real guy is, and you'll realize his heart's in the right place. If he's criticizing or talking to somebody on the team about getting better, it's really from a good place. He wants them to be better for their own good and them making more money and playing better in the NBA. But yeah, it's crazy. The stuff with Kleber seems silly. In some ways, it's kind of nothing, really. Kleber doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play. So what? Schroeder's disappointed. That's what it is. It's basically what it is. Kleber doesn't want to play, and Schroeder's disappointed that he doesn't want to play. That's the shortness of it there. Tom Duke saying, I had no idea what he was saying because it's still all in German, but I do like some gossip now and then. Ha, ha, ha. Well, you can put the closed captioning on, Tom. It's very, very well done. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. It's like international. And in some ways, if you were watching an American or a Canadian player do those clips, it may be pretty boring just in English. But because of the German and the subtitles, it kind of makes it feel like a foreign film. So it's kind of fun to watch. You feel like artsy by watching. It's kind of like, like My Dinner with Andre kind of stuff. It's like high class, mundane art, is what it feels like to me because the German aspect of it's pretty hilarious. Infamous is saying, what's this nonsense I hear about Masai's job being on the line? I almost died of laughter. I strongly agree with you, Lex, that there are forces trying to destabilize this franchise. Yeah, I think that there's forces out there that are trying to mess up sports in Toronto in general. There's forces in the Leafs messing around with them. There's definitely messed up things going on with the TFC. And then even like the Blue Jays have their struggles in certain ways, although they're playing way better right now. And if they can make a couple of additions midway through the season, they could make a strong push for the World Series, the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's a lot of weird forces out there. Now, the stuff with Masai, hopefully it will just die down and it's just bullshit and it will go away. Now, I know some of the fans are very big on this because of this and this and this, but they're idiots. And hopefully they have no clout, no power, and no kind of influence in any kind of way. Just go be miserable, Masai haters, and we will have our great leader leading our franchise because he has done such a good job in the 10 years he's been around. Do not take him for granted and understand the alternatives are way worse, Raptor fans. If you want Masai fired, who do you want to take the job after that? And how much will you trust them? That's what I'm saying. So you think about what the possibilities otherwise are, and you'll be like, that's not attractive to me. That is not attractive to me. I wish that we still have Masai. And you'll realize that y'all were messed up trying to drive him out of here. So, yeah, I'm with you on that, Infamous, for sure. We got to protect Masai Ujiri at all costs, because we've already lost our great Hall of Fame head coach, Nick Nurse. We've lost our point guard, Fred VanVleet. We cannot afford to lose any more very strong, important people in the Raptors franchise right now. And Masai Ujiri is probably the most important person in the Raptors franchise. A couple of years ago, we got him to sign his long-term deal in the summer. And I said, that's the best free agent signing of the whole entire summer. No player, no coach, no nothing. The GM of the Raptors, the team president. And I believe that still. This guy needs to be around for a long, long, long time because he is one of the most steadying forces in Raptors culture to continue us on the course towards W's and winning, y'all. So if you like winning, you should protect Masai Ujiri if you're a Raptors fan. Seriously, because he is the best thing in some ways on our team. The most strong person in his position in a lot of ways is him at this point. So, all right, let's see. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Happy belated birthday to the best defender in the league, OG Anunoby. Congrats, Gradey, for the Adidas collaboration. And Bozo sending a subtle message to Sixers Nation. Good luck next season. She got the popcorn out, too. Good to see Scotty Barnes, Twitch family, Fiercely Saw Sarah in the house. One of the great Raptor freaks. Let's see. All right. I want to break this down because she's hitting a lot of topics in here. OG having his birthday on Monday, 26 years old, was fantastic. We saw on Instagram celebrations from a lot of different Raptors: Scotty, Christian, Chris Boucher. Who else was on there? Precious. I think all these guys were putting OG's birthday on blast, which was awesome. And OG reposted a couple of them. He reposted the NBA celebrating his birthday. I mean, it was was it the NBA, the Raptors, and Chris Boucher? He posted their happy birthday wishes. But yeah, this is awesome. And then also yesterday we heard Masai saying that OG is not getting traded and that we're laughing at all the offers that are coming for him. So we should not be worried about them trading OG. They're not interested in moving him. And we could have told people that all along for a couple of years now. We're not interested in moving him. Congratulations to Gradey Dick for signing the shoe and apparel deal with Adidas. He is going to be officially wearing Adidas shoes on the court for the NBA. That's fantastic. Him and Jordan Hood Shafino revealed as the rookies going to be sporting the Adidas this year. And they're going to probably be in a lot of ads for that brand. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty cool to see that stuff with Gradey signing with Adidas. And then, yes, let's talk about the huge dumpster fire going on in Sixers Nation right now and a couple of different fronts. You know, I knew Nick Nurse taking this job is not going to be pretty right away. We don't even have to wait for the season. This stuff is happening already, like within a month of him being hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid has said something really crazy in an interview this week saying, well, I will try and win a championship, whether it's with the Philadelphia 76ers or whoever. Whoa, 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 whoa. You know what? He just did what Nick Nurse does. Maybe Nick Nurse has already had an influence on him. He's projecting ahead and getting ahead of himself and saying certain things publicly that are giveaways to people. And they're going to be like, what the fuck did he just say? This is exactly like the press conference in Philadelphia with Nick Nurse when he said he needed vacation before he needed the playoffs. Well, Joel, you just let your hand down that you want to get traded, that you'd probably rather be not on the Sixers anymore. That is basically what you said this week, that you're ready to look past the Sixers and go to another team like the Knicks or the Heat. And now they're talking a lot about a Bam Adebayo for Joel Embiid trade with the Miami Heat. And Philadelphia Nation is in shambles in some ways because their two most important players do not want to be there, and it's evident. And how much does that have to do with their brand new head coach? Seriously. I know James it does. James has been personally insulted by Nick Nurse. Last summer in Hungary, when he did a coaches summit, he very much pointed out James and made fun of him and said specifically some nasty things about him. No wonder James Harden does not want to play for the Sixers anymore and is demanding a trade to the Clippers to go play with Russell Westbrook. Now, there's a weird thing. He's saying he wants to play with Russell. Russell may be the easiest person to trade away from the Clippers to get to the Sixers, but he says he wants to play with Russell. So what does that mean? It's like, who do they trade then? They're going to trade Paul George. They're going to trade Kawhi. I don't get this. The Clippers, it's going to be really weird if James Harden ends up on the Clippers and they don't have to trade one of those other old guys that are already there to get him in reverse. I don't know. And then the other hand of it is Daryl Morey is basically getting put on blast by both Joel Embiid and James Harden at this point. They both hate him at this point. Seriously, how is this going to work? If Scotty and Pascal hated Masai Ujiri, this would not work in Toronto. So you think about that, Philadelphia fan. You got Joel Embiid calling Daryl Morey the biggest troll at this point. He said that. He said, I thought I was the biggest troll, but now Daryl Morey is. Why would he say that about his team president and the guy who's running his team if he wasn't at odds with him? And we know that James Harden's pissed at him because he hasn't moved him yet and he's not following what he wants him to do. So yeah, Sixers Nation is all messed up, all kinds of different ways between Joel Embiid already saying he's ready to leave Philly and James being so demanding and so difficult. Nobody wants to help them out. Daryl Morey's being described as being unreasonable and exorbitant with what he's demanding for James Harden in return. And this is really crazy. The James Harden and the Dame Lillard situations are very, very messed up, and in some ways holding things up, and also in some ways kind of like maybe not going to happen. We could very well see James Harden not moved, and then all of a sudden he's just in street clothes, sitting on the bench, refusing to play, or not even showing up to games at all. I do not think James will show up and play for them no matter how much they beg him. If they don't move him, well, then he's going to be another Ben Simmons for Philadelphia this year, sitting out on his ass, and you ain't going to see nothing. And, well, that's going to hurt the Sixers as far as not having that superstar slot on their roster active and out on the court and doing things. I could totally see James Harden putting on that fat suit and sitting out games this season in defiance of still being a 76er. So wow. Philly, you're just burning down. And Nick has not even coached a single regular season game for them yet. And they already burning down like this. Isn't this amazing? I called this. I called it as soon as I said, I dare y'all, Philadelphia, to sign Nick Nurse as your new head coach. I dare you. You do it, Philly. Find out what happens. We're already finding out. And they even had to play a game for this to fall apart. Wow. I love the NBA. All right, Mike's saying Masai isn't in trouble. All right, I like that. Mike is giving us good, logical, sound reasoning. Masai isn't in trouble. It's the weird side of people saying that. I saw a comment about Fred leaving was the best thing to happen to the Raptors since the championship. They lost the plot of things. Listen, at some point, people are going to look at things so negatively in so many ways. At some point, they got to start looking at things positively in some ways. Everybody who hated Fred, now he's gone. And in some ways, I can get this whole idea that maybe he was kind of a guy who like sponged up a lot of the opportunities, the shots, the minutes, and everything around the team. Well, now we get the theory put to test. Will we see much more opportunity and better things for the Raptors with Fred's absence? And I kind of see where they might be right, the Fred haters, and the people saying, well, things are going to get better for everybody. Dylan Brooks, he very much thinks that Fred's going to make him a better shooter with his great court vision and passing. It's really crazy, the stats for VanVleet and Brooks with their efficiency and their field goal percentage. They're two of the worst at their positions. So this is going to be very interesting and weird for Fred and Dylan, shooting around 30%, both of them last year. And let's see if they actually shoot better. And then the young guys around them, how that all interacts with them too. Yeah, Dylan, you go ahead and think Fred's going to make you better. You go ahead and think that. He may. We'll have to see if he does. It'd be very interesting. Mike, they're going to try and find negative stuff. But in some ways, when things go so weird like they are now, even the negative ninnies at some point have to stop and say, hey, I kind of like what's happening. I think that's kind of what happened there. MSJ saying, I think that they should sign Jeff to the minimum for 1 year and see, give him a chance. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris, on that. MSJ. Good to see you this morning, my good friend. Jeff deserves this. He's built up with deserving something because we didn't convert his two-way at the end of the season last year. So he's been promised something. Why would he linger around our team all summer after his ankle surgery and be like involved in all the events? He's at Darko's press conference. He's at Blue Jays games with the other guys. He's at Summer League. Why would he be around if it wasn't already kind of like figured out? and that he's going to be a Raptor for sure. You think he would just hang around if he's just getting promised a two-way again? No, he's getting a full roster spot, and he should. He totally deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. Iceman saying Wieskamp might end up on a two-way or on the 905 if he doesn't get another NBA contract or overseas. If Dowtin Jr. gets another two-way, Terrence Davis is a name I'd like to see added to the roster. Yeah, you brought up TD2 a few times in the last couple of days. I don't know. It's like a road we've been down before. I'm very shocked once again that Sacramento's not valuing him more and trying to keep him around. It seems like he's been a very valuable, good kind of quick scorer off the bench for them in some ways. That's weird to me. In some ways, I'm kind of like this guy who doesn't like going down roads that we've been down before, unless they're very fun roads. And in some ways, Terrence Davis wasn't a very fun road just because of the ambiguity of his situation with that incident. And there is a big part of our Raptors fandom that did not watch that season because of his domestic violence charge that was pending at that time. Some people are very woke, will not watch the Raptors if Terrence Davis is on this team. I know a particular few people that did not watch them just because they boycotted because of his presence on the team. So in some ways, I'm wary of bringing him back just because the woke warriors and how they'll be crying out, why are we bringing this guy back? I thought we got rid of him. It's that kind of thing. Even if it's not totally fair to him, in some ways that incident may be mischaracterized in some ways, but still, in some ways, it's like, do we want the woke warriors and the idiots? I won't call them idiots, and some of the people that are really really overboard with being social justice warriors are going to be like, I don't want Terrence Davis back, and that's part of the problem there. Wheezy's interesting because there are options there. Iceman like Irvin's exactly right. Just because we waived him this week doesn't mean that he might not circle back and end up on our team still somehow, some way. It could be very well likely, but who knows? He may be getting enticed by another team or going overseas with a big bag. I could see him possibly taking a two-way, but at this point, I'm like, you're kind of spinning your wheels, bro. As far as getting into inertia into the NBA, like you had good inertia just now, and it's gone. In some ways, you're kind of taking a step back. And if I was a professional basketball player, I would be really weighing the bag versus trying to make the NBA at this point and saying, you know what, I could really go to like the Philippines. I could go to, let's say, Germany, I guess, since we were talking about Germany earlier, and I could make like $2 million this year playing for a German professional team instead of making 50,000 playing as a two-way player for the Raptors again this year. So it could very well be like that Wheezy's kind of like, I'm going to take the money now. Well, I'm still young. I've tried my damnedest to try and make more of a impact to make an NBA roster and rotation, but it hasn't happened. So at some point, that's what professional players kind of do. They got to value the fork in the road. And what do they value more at that time? Am I still going for my NBA dream? Well, I have played in the NBA. I played for a few teams in the NBA, but I could get paid really good in another country. So I think he's at that point where he might be like, I'm going to go take the money foreign. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Monique is here. Good morning to Superfan Monique. Good morning, everyone. Birthday wishes for OG. Stay healthy on and off the court. Yes, Monique. We love OG so much. We've seen him post a little bit on Instagram recently, which is a little scary. We get worried when OG's on Instagram or social media posting things because some weird things happen sometimes when he's doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, very happy 26th birthday to OG. And it's unanimous around the team. People wishing him a happy birthday. He's a very popular Raptor. Those guys really do love OG. Nako's here. Good to see Nako the Nacho. If Otto's healthy, you don't need Joe. I think he's right. Seriously, if Otto Porter is going to be able to play this year, in some ways, we really don't need Joe. Now, if y'all are looking at my spreadsheet, I've kind of got it in there. It's not for sure. It's just kind of like filled in real quick as far as like kind of where, these the order I have them, Raptors first team, second team, third team, blah, blah, blah. That can all be moved around, obviously, depending on what happens. It's just kind of what I'm looking at right now. And then kind of I had the coaches on there even, the coaches' names and the kind of the people who are involved with the Raptors 2023, 2024 team so far as things. All right, let's keep going. MSJ saying, I think a 1 year for Dowtin, something near 1 million would be a risk worth taking. You look good, But let's see if he can excel over a season at 10 minutes a game. And yeah, Otto means bye-bye to Joe Weezy. Yeah, yeah, Jeff needs to get what is worth it to him, but also with what fits within our cap structure for sure. And I mean, why would he be around if he's not going to be on our team this year? Seriously, he's going to just gonna hang out with us all summer and then see ya. I'm going to go be on the Clippers now or something like that. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Why would you be here rehabbing? Is maybe that part of the deal? It's like, Jeff, we want to sign you, but you know what? We're not going to sign you to two-way or convert your two-way at the end of the season. Instead, we'll help you have surgery and we'll rehab you and we'll help take care of you this summer. And then if you don't make our team, you can go wherever you want. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. I know Jeff Dowtin loves being in Toronto and being on the Raptors. He's very happy with how he's been treated by our organization. So we'll figure it out. More of the puzzle pieces will fill in as we get the news of this officially. But as I said, they're not going to do this right away because they want the leeway and the flexibility to move with front office moves just in case the landscape of the NBA is changing very quickly with big moves with Dame Lillard and James Harden and people like that. So very, very interesting. Iceman saying also Masai in trouble. Raps haven't had a losing season since 2012-13, except for Tampa. 2 seasons ago, they finished 5th in the East. Last season, 41-41. Talk to me when Raps have back-to-back losing seasons. Exactly. There's a voice of reason right there. People do not understand what success is in the NBA, and the Raptors are successful. If you don't think our team is that successful, you're crazy. We've had a very, very successful 10 years of Ujiri at the helm leading our team. And we would like to continue and have another 10, 20, 30 more years of Ujiri running this team, being very capable in success and winning. So, yeah, there's a reality check right there from Iceman like Gervin. What? We haven't had a losing season since like over 10 years ago. And really, we don't count Tampa. That's a special circumstance. You guys can say last year was a losing season, but that's not technically correct. We were even 500 right down the line. Logical saying, I think Dowtin proved a lot last season and will get a spot with us. His skills are needed more with Fred leaving, dribbling and ball handling into distribution. Yeah. And even that like dribble drive in to get some penetration to kick out. Definitely. That's one of the best skills Fred had was dribble in and kick out. And we will need that from capable ball handlers with savvy court presence and vision to be able to find guys really quick like that. I think he's very valuable this year. In fact, we're worried about our point guard. This guy could be a consistent option. Tomorrow, actually, that's what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to talk about on the Thursday Think Tank tomorrow the possibilities for who should be playing point guard. We're going to do a Thursday Think Tank, the Raptors at point guard this season. Let's talk about who we think. We'll look at all the different looks, the different candidates, and we'll really kind of talk about the pros and cons of the different possibilities for the Raptors at starting point guard and maybe the hierarchy of who's going to be carrying the ball for us at point guard with Scotty, Dennis, Malachi, Marquise, Jeff Dowtin Jr., those 5 guys, and maybe even any kind of surprise that you have an idea of what we could do. Thursday Think Tank, the Raptors point guard situation. We're going to go in depth on it tomorrow for sure. Let's see. Monica's saying, I like the Adidas signing of Gradey. Yeah. Yeah, it's it is what it is. Adidas is a problematic company from its history for different reasons, and it's a little bit of but Gradey's got a shoe deal. That's great, and I think he's already been kind of working with Adidas in his NIL. Before he's already gotten money and he's been in kind of things with Adidas brand. So he's had a working relationship with them, but now he's officially an NBA player and he's officially signed to wear their apparel and their shoes. That is the deal. Yeah, he's gonna be an Adidas wearing person, just like Run DMC. Yeah, wow, that's right. My Adidas. Trevor's saying, because people don't like to hear the truth, close the truth. The truth offends some people. Yeah, this is part of it with Dennis right now. Look, Dennis is just trying to be like, this is the standard. This is how I look at it with Team Germany. You got to be here for us, Maxi. If you're not here, then I'm going to question, your honoring the country. In some ways, Dennis may be a little too truthful, a little too outspoken, but he's trying to be a leader. and he's trying to help Team Germany. His heart is in the right place. Now, some people may say, "Oh, this isn't helping anything if Kleber's deciding he doesn't want to play." Well, I think he's just making it a convenient excuse. What Dennis said, he was already not going to play. It's just on top of it. He's saying, "Well, now that you've said that, I'm not going to play for sure." Well, you were probably already decided that you weren't going to play, and that's part of the reason why Dennis is criticizing you. And you can go ahead, oh, that now I'm definitely not going to play because Dennis said that. It's silly. It's really, really silly in a lot of ways. Let's see. Mike's saying, bottom line for Masai, is he making the Raptors more valuable and earn more revenue each year? The Raptors' value has exploded since Masai got here. He's fine. Yeah, and that may be part of the thing that is they're trying to weaken our brand and make it less valuable. The perception of our team is not good right now as far as the common fan. They probably think that we're not going to be very good. They see the exits of Nick and Fred, and they're like, oh, the Raptors are going to be horrible this year. Well, this is one of those periods where we can go underneath, and the casual fan won't pay attention because they're going to think we're not going to be good. And hopefully we can kick ass, and they'll circle around and say, holy crap, the Raptors were actually good without Nick and Fred. Darko's really good. I like this coach. That kind of thing could be happening around November or December, where people are kind of circling back and saying, all right, I'm not going to watch the Raptors this year because I know they're going to be bad this year. But then they start kicking ass, and the allure of winning and success will bring them all back once again. So you go ahead, act like they're not going to be good, casual Raptors fans. And when they come back and they're just as good as they usually are year in, year out, and everybody underestimates them, yeah, you'll be one of those people this time. I'm not going to be like that. I'm open to them being absolutely gangbuster successful right away. I don't know if it's for sure or guaranteed for sure, but I am very much here for it if it does happen. And I will not say that it surprised me like some people it might. All right, let's keep going. David is here. Good to see David Saborin. Yeah, whatever happened to Otto? Dude missed the whole fucking season with a toe injury. Did they amputate it or what? Scam metas. David, a little biting here. Well, yeah, it's all good. Listen, he had a serious issue with his toe and he had to take last season off. It's fine. We have him for another year this year. Let's see what he does this year, David. This could be a very interesting year with Otto Porter Jr. on the Raptors. I don't want him to be like Olajuwon. No, I don't. Come north, get some contract off of us, make some money, and don't hardly ever play. Yeah, I don't want that. So hopefully he can just play this year. He did not get his toe amputated. In fact, I think that's why they had to have the surgery to stop that from happening, David. Good to see you, though, David Saborin. Always good to see you, my good friend. G saying our Raptors media are becoming more like the Leafs media by the day. That's part of it. That's very much the part of it. In some ways, Rogers and TSN have playbooks and like formatting and templates for how they got to do things. And if they're taking shit from the Leafs kind of broadcast and putting it on the Raptors, it's the same kind of bullshit. And that's part of the problem. Part of the problem, as always, as I've said, is Leaf fan nation's mindset is shared sometimes because they're both Leaf and Raptor fans. And they try and apply Leaf logic of like losing and disappointment to the Raptors. That, this is part of the loser mentality of Toronto Sports City is the Leafs. The Leafs have made Toronto sports fans loser mentality. Like, oh, we're always going to fail, or we'll find a way to lose, or everything will fall apart. Oh, they project their own losing and being shitty because of that. That's why the Leafs have been so bad for years. It's because the fans have had loser mentality. You have loser culture. That's why we do things differently on this channel. And I'm keeping the red and the blue separated because we don't have losing culture in our team. Y'all have a loser mindset and you're a Leaf fan. Don't come in here and try and talk your shit in Raptor spaces because we ain't about that. We have winning culture, winning mentality, and we do not focus on us failing or fucking up or choking like y'all do. You make it inevitable. You set yourself up to fail because of your mindset, Leaf Nation. Well, Raptor Nation, we ain't having that. And I'm a leader on this because this is something I feel strongly since the beginning of the Raptors, that the loserness of the Leafs has hurt the Raptors for so many years. In the mindsets of general Toronto sports fan thinking, oh, we're just going to fail. Our Toronto teams always suck. Toronto teams always find a way to fail and lose. Yeah, y'all Leafs, you can go ahead and own that and wear those clothes, but I ain't wearing them clothes. I don't get up in the morning putting on this Raptors shirt thinking I'm the loser, that I'm going to lose and I'm going to fucking choke in the biggest possible situations where it's important. Nah, we ain't the Leafs. And this is so important that this loser mentality around Toronto sports fan, Leaf Nation is not got nothing to do with Masai Ujiri, Darko Rajakovic, Scotty Barnes, and myself. No, it don't. And that I ain't having it. And that's the big part of the problem right there, G, is that the Leafs loser mentality of, oh, we're cursed. Oh, we have this horrible. Oh. Nah, I ain't having that. We wear red. Y'all wear blue. You can go ahead and screw you. You go deal with it on your own. And don't bring that shit around us because we ain't got nothing to do with that. We have winning. We have success. We win. We make things happen. We got one chance to get the championship so far in our career as a team, and we won. We didn't mess up. We didn't choke. We went to the finals once, and we won the championship. So you tell us that we're a choke artist franchise like the Leafs are? No, we're not. We got to the finals, and we made it happen, and we brought that cup to Toronto. So you tell me if we're losers. Y'all are losers. You can be losers on your own, but don't keep them separated. Keep your little blue life separated from your red life is what I'm saying to Toronto sports fan. You want to be a fan of both teams, you got to deal with the Raptors completely different than how you deal with the Leafs because it's a totally different culture, totally different mindset, and we are winning mindset. Y'all going to have your loser ass mindset for the Leafs. That's fine. Maybe we can help y'all. Maybe you need to look at me as a role model and say, damn, Raptors Freak is right. We should be more like him with the way we root for the Leafs. Maybe y'all could make the Leafs more successful just from the power of your mind and your observation, your perception of the team. That y'all forecast failure because if you're like, oh, we're just going to lose in the first round, as we always do. Y'all want that? You can go ahead and make it set up to happen because you already made it created in your head. So you want to be like us, create success. Say, yeah, the Leafs are good enough. They're going to do this. Watch how quickly things turn around with the power of perception and the power of your own fan nation actually believing in your team for once. That's a big difference right there between Leafs and Raptors Nation right there. Winning mentality versus loser mentality. You want to have it? You better have that winning mentality is what I'm saying. That's right. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. Good to see Cool Cat, one of the coolest cats in Canada, baby. Cool Cat is in the house. All right, let's see. Iceman saying, David Thorpe is the man behind this Masai job security talk. He also said on the same broadcast that Bosch left the Raptors on Masai's watch. He's just trying to get hits, views by making up stories. Very interesting. David Thorpe has been a Thorpe in our side for a bit of a year now. His article or what he said last December was very destructive in some ways, but it was true. That's the weird thing. He's like, they need to fire Nick and get rid of Fred right away. But they did also say get rid of OG. That was really weird. Like, why do you want to get rid of OG too? I get it now why you said about Fred and Nick in hindsight at the end of the season. But David Thorpe, I don't know if he's good for this team. There's a lot of funny clips when David Thorpe was making issues last year, Iceman, in my archives of me doing Masai calling David to tell him to stop talking to the media. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty good stuff. But yeah, David Thorpe is not a helpful person to the Raptors in a lot of ways, although he was right last December. That's the weird thing. He wanted them to hire Earl Watson and fire Nick. It's crazy. Yeah, he said that about Bosch. Bosch wasn't even on our team anywhere near when Masai was on our team. That is ridiculously stupid. Like, we can look at the timelines. Bosch was gone. He had chosen South Beach way before Masai Ujiri showed up in Toronto to have anything to do with us, I think. I mean, he was an underlying guy, kind of. No, he was in Denver still. This is bullshit. He's so full of it. The timeline doesn't fit. Nako saying Masai over Daryl Morey, for sure. For sure. I told y'all, Daryl Morey reminds me of Chris Farley's character from Saturday Night Live that lived in the van down by the river. I live in a van down by the river. You know, that's who he looks like to me. Like, he acts like that guy. He could be a Ford brother, is what I'm saying. Yeah, he could be like related to Doug and whatchamacallit, Rob. Doug and Rob Ford. That's who Daryl Morey is like to me. He kind of acts like them. He kind of probably has the same kind of business model of being like, we're gonna destroy the green belt, and I'm gonna make a lot of money. Daryl Morey probably just like Doug Ford. Monique is saying there is one picture on Marquise's IG. He needs Zeke. He meets Zeke, man. Oh man, that was fast. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like seeing players meet their legend like heroes. Isaiah Thomas has probably been a huge legend hero for Marquise Nowell as a short guy. You know what? Monique has just said Instagram. Let's go look at Instagram right now. First of all, Scott is in Toronto. He is at Silent H. They were having some sort of event last night. They had a red carpet, and Scott's wearing a really good, a cool leather jacket, and he's out there. Pretty cool stuff to see. Scotty Barnes in Toronto right now at Silent H last night. Pascal is, I don't know where Pascal is, but it's beautiful wherever he is. There's a lot of sunshine. He looks like he might be in Florida. It could be maybe like Mexico or one of the islands. He did do a clip in the last couple days naming his 7 favorite places to visit in the world, and they were all like islands and Austria and France. So there's like all islands and island life in Austria and France. He said everywhere's in the tropics because he loves that beach life. That's Siakam. He's also watching Martin, y'all. It looks like Siakam's been watching old reruns of Martin Lawrence's great show, Martin. I love that show with Martin Lawrence. That's a classic, underrated television show in the history of television. It is much more important than what people give its credit. In the history of TV, Martin needs to be more accoladed. That's what I'm saying. Here's a picture. He's like near some sort of elephant statue. I don't know where that is. This is Siakam still. All right, Scotty is getting put on blast by Chris on his Instagram. I guess Chris was at the Silent H event last night also. He wants us to rate Scotty's look on a 1 to 10 scale. What do y'all think? I think Scotty looks fire. I would say at least a 9, if not a 10. I mean, the jacket with the white shirt, he's like this. I think it's funny that Slim Duck is putting Scotty on blast for his fashion on his Instagram. In some ways, I get it. There's got to be a lot of fun and palling around. Scotty and Chris, that's good stuff. All right, let's see. Armani Brooks did get a 2-way with the new Brooklyn Nets in the last day or so. Fantastic stuff. Congratulations to Armani as a former Raptor. Even though you're on the other team, it's good to see you get some success. Ron Harper's putting Armani on blast himself on his Instagram. Yeah, that. So he's really proud of a former teammate, a guy he got to know on the Raptors. Armani Brooks getting that 2-way with the Nets. Joe Weezy has got his camp starting, and it's a Joe Wieskamp Hall of Fame induction and jersey ceremony coming up too. So that's pretty interesting that they're doing that for Joe. So he's got some good distractions after getting waived. That's good. Koloko is at some sort of like hoops place where guys taking shots over a guy with the extension arms and stuff. And he's yelling at the guy, "You're getting cooked as usual." And the guy comes running across the court like he's going to attack Koloko with the big arm things. Koloko's working out somewhere, and he's got the trainer running after him because of that. Good stuff, Koloko. Love to see you working hard somewhere, wherever you are. OG, reposting Chris's wishes to him on birthday wishes to him, and also Slam wishing him birthday, and also happy birthday from the Raptors organization. OG reposting those birthday wishes. He had many, many, many more. Trust me. He only reposted 3 of them. Marquise Nowell, lots of stuff on there. He just got a new tattoo, y'all. It's on his chest, and it's got Kobe and Michael on it, and it said, "I just didn't quit," is what it says on it. And it's kind of cool. It's very cool. It's very active. There's a lot in it. It's like Jordan holding the Larry O'Brien when he's crying, and then just the side of Kobe's face. And then in the middle, there's some sort of weird like strider with wings. I don't know. Marquise has a very intricate new tattoo on his chest. That's for sure. Very, very interesting to see. Also, Marquise returning to Rucker Park, the famed historic Rucker Park in New York, a place where he spent many times, coming back as a hero. They're hugging him. This is how you know he's legit. He's Mr. New York City. Well, he's at Rucker Park, And that's maybe the place to be in New York if you're a basketball player. And they love him there. They're treating him like the belle of the ball, putting him on pictures and putting him up there and putting him in interviews. I love seeing Marquise getting that shine after his summer league experience. There's a friend of his wearing his jersey from summer league on there, and he's just smiling. You can tell Marquise is just like on his victory tour back home saying, yeah, guys, I'm making the NBA. I'm going to make it and happen. And I love that. I love seeing that. He's also eating some Chick-fil-A in there. And one of these things saying people won't realize how dope you are until they start meeting people who don't move like you. Will always be a good person no matter what. There you go. He's got a lot of words of wisdom. He's like Trevor J. He's got a couple other ones. Let me find another one. But yeah, really putting on blast. Put the Rucker Park. And then he's driving around in New York City last night late. And then he got some sort of, it looks like a raspberry, like it's a cinnamon raisin bagel toasted with butter and jelly. If you know, you know. Okay, so that's really good. I guess he's recommending a cinnamon raisin bagel toasted with butter and jelly, y'all. If y'all like that, Marquise Nowell is telling you to go eat that. And then one more thing he's saying, continue being a good person. God sees you. There you go. Marquise Nowell got the good stuff going on. Thad Young is Mr. Businessman all over the place. His portfolio increases, and people are coming to talk to him about how he's doing it with his business. That's right. Thad Young is a young businessman who is a great role model for other people on how to do business. There you go. There's your Raptors Instagram check today. Yeah, good stuff. I love seeing Marquise being a hero in Rucker Park yesterday. And the new tattoo is fresh, bro. Yeah. Guardian saying maybe Joel does not want to be run into the ground and injured by Knicks 40 to 44 minutes per game. That could possibly be part of it already. Seriously, Guardian. He could be showing up to practice and seeing how Nick runs things and what his plans are. And he's like, you really want to do this year? Like all 82 games? And he's like, yeah, I expect you to do this, Joe. And he's like, really? He's like, he's scared of the workload. I'll bet you that's what it is. Because in some ways, Joel wants things easy for him. And in some ways, you can tell he's just that kind of guy. He's not like Siakam. Siakam is working hard and going through the hard stuff. Embiid wants it easy. Everything, they just come easy to him. There's some really cool stats out recently about how bad Joel is, as far as how unclutch he is, how much he disappears, and how he isn't really a legitimate MVP. That, like, out of all the MVPs in the history of the NBA, Joel lacks certain credentials to actually have won the MVP award. And there's people putting this on blast right now. There's a lot of people saying he's a fake MVP. He's a fake in general. And some of these people aren't other teams. They're actually Sixers fans who are actually starting to say this also. I told y'all when they hired Nick Nurse, some of the Sixers fans decided Nick Nurse is our guy. And if he is not getting along with Joel or James, we're going to blame them at this point because we're sick of their shit. And we're going to value the coach going forward. So in some ways, the Sixers fans are not necessarily upset if Harden leaves and Embiid leaves also, because they just want to start a new chapter with Nick Nurse as their coach, and hopefully it's a better one. These guys may be the problem. Yeah, it very well could be. Joel saw what Nick expects of him. And he's like, nope, nope. Stargate saying Sixers are already a dumpster fire. Major dumpster fire, Stargate. Major dumpster fire. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get the dumpster fire rankings out this summer. I feel scared to do it because if I'm very much being honest, the Raptors will have to be on those rankings this year because we have been kind of a dumpster fire this summer too. And it's too bad. I hate it. But I would have to reassess and be very honest about where the Raptors placement would be on the dumpster fire rankings. I guess I'll probably still do it. I will because it's good off-season content. So there will probably be a Sunday special report, an updated dumpster fire rankings for this summer from everything that's been happening. Yeah, I'll probably do that at some point, even if the Raptors are going to be ranked on it. Seymour saying, good point, Guardian. Yeah, I'll bet you Joel does not. He's not interested in this. Neither is James. They're not interested at all. MSJ saying, kind of shocked by the Sixers. Harden wants out, and if he goes, Joel will have 1 foot out the door as he knows they can't win at all. Nick Nurse might be left looking a bit silly and those fans will attack. Laugh out loud. Well, I think they're strongly what Nick hasn't messed up for them yet. So they're really like love that they've stolen our coach in some ways. And that they love that. That's kind of a trophy in itself that they've got the coach that terrorized them for so many years on their staff now. In some ways, that's a win for them. So they're going to protect Nick. Watch. They're very much going to protect Nick. They're going to probably be overly critical of everyone else until Nick is absolutely proven to be the problem in that team. The other guys will get blamed first, including Joel. It doesn't matter if he's the franchise player. The fans will turn on him if they think he's lazy and not listening to Coach Nurse. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think that Nick's gold with them. In fact, he's probably going to be protected by his Sixers fans for a while. But those stars, they're not. They're sick of his shit. They're sick of Joel and his dumbass shit. And this week just proves it even worse. The fact that he came out and said, wherever I win a championship. Yeah, do you think Sixers fans liked hearing that? No, they didn't. And some of them are going to be even more venomous towards him just because he said that. Like, he's so dumb. He doesn't even understand how much he made it even more uncomfortable for him if he is going to stay in Philly, because those Sixers fans will not let him forget what he said on Monday. They will not. Seriously. They're going to remember this all year. And they're going to bring it up. Oh, my gosh. They're going to bring it up. All right, let's keep going with the comments. I'm so happy to make up for yesterday. I'm so sorry that I had to run out at the last minute, but everything turned out all right. They got the plumbers over there. Her basement was completely flooded out, and she lives by herself. She's 95 years old, Adriana's grandmother, and we needed to get her over there to help her grandmother. So she had to go over there. I went home. And she was just there to support her grandmother in this situation. She was okay. It's just, it was very confusing, and she's going to have some plumbers come there and have to do stuff. And nobody in Adriana's family is available other than her. So she had to go in there, be there for her. But everything worked out. The plumbers came, and I believe that they're getting this whole situation fixed. So no harm, no foul. Everybody's okay. And I just wanted to update you on that. Yeah. All right, let's see. Where are we in the comments? It jumped ahead a little bit here. Let's see. Joel is okay. G saying Joel had Butler, Simmons, Harden, and now that the roster around him may be average, he is saying this. This is why I respect Pascal. He has had to deal with roster changes, youth development, etc., and never said a bad word. Yeah, I don't even think Pascal's had it that difficult. I mean, honestly, really think about it. His rise to stardom through the most improved, coming up and winning a championship next to Kawhi very early in his career. He was not that old when that happened. And now, since it's been his show, it's not like he's not getting touches or minutes. He gets all of what he wants, and he's excelled, and he's played very well. And, Masai's done a good job of keeping good, solid people around him to a degree. Yeah, Joel had such a good team when we beat them in the playoffs that year in 2019. That has been the best Sixers team in the last few years. I don't care. People can say last year's team may have been better, but I don't believe them. I think that team with JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler on it was the best Sixers team in the last 10 years. And that was their arc of getting to the high point. And ever since, they've been kind of going down since. So we both peaked in 2019 around that time, and we fucking kicked their ass and got the championship and won it. So in some ways, Philly had their peak the same time as Toronto. I love it. Oh, so good. Nako's saying, I think it was Darryl who said but Jimmy left because someone said if you can control him. Jimmy was very insulted by the Sixers on his way out. He was very mad that they chose Tobias Harris over him as far as throwing money. And that was really dumb. That was absolutely dumb. And maybe that's part of what Joel is mad about, that Morey didn't value Jimmy Butler and let him walk and go to Miami like that. And he's not forgiven him for that totally. I mean, Joel made it clear that he doesn't like Daryl Morey either. That he called him a troll. He called him the biggest troll. He thought he was the biggest troll. And he said, now Daryl Morey is. So it's really crazy. They had the white party at the Hamptons a couple weekends ago, and all the Sixers were there. Tobias, Tyrese, James, Joel. and the former owner of the Sixers, Michael Rubin, who hosted that party and now is like in charge of Fanatics or something like that. They're like a sports collectible company. So he left the Sixers and now he's in charge of this big, huge Fanatics company that is in charge of collectibles. Well, I'm sure he still has ties to the Sixers and he very much loves his old team in all kinds of different ways. And he was probably trying to do some real work with these white parties of James being there and Joel being there and trying to help Darryl. But it didn't come true or anything. These guys are worse off this week than they were 2 weeks ago before that white party. Now it's like more and more we're hearing James is absolutely solidly against playing for the Sixers, and he is demanding that trade to the Clippers, and he doesn't even want to talk to them. In fact, he's pissed at Daryl Morey that it hasn't happened already. James Harden is like a spoiled brat that got what he wanted a couple times already when he's in this situation. Well, he's going to continue to do these kind of things. And the NBA made a monster out of him. How many times in the last 5 years has James Harden demanded to be traded from a team and strong-armed his way off a franchise? And you ask me why I was telling Ben and Riker that James Harden is somebody we don't need anywhere near our Canadian team up here. That's what I'm saying. This dude is not good for your team. Seriously, you can't trust him. He will fuck you over. He has no loyalty. He will fuck you over. It doesn't matter how far you are in the playoffs. He will not show up. He will mess you up somehow, some way. You will definitely do that. Yeah. If you can control James is what you should be saying. Fiercely saying Fred did have great court vision when passing to Jakob. Laugh out loud. I think Fred is actually a really good passer. Now, is he one of the best in the NBA? I don't think so. Is he one of the greatest ever? Probably not, but he may be one of the greatest Raptor passers in a lot of ways. In some ways, we've had pretty good passers at different times. I think Fred gets maligned for this in some ways because he has that kind of reputation to be a chucker and ball hog, but he does actually assist people pretty good. I mean, he wouldn't have our franchise record for assists in a single game if he couldn't do that in some ways. So I don't want to totally diss Fred for this. Now, how is he going to link up with these youngsters and Dylan Brooks and Jeff Green around him on Houston? We'll have to see. There may not be instant chemistry like Fred had with Pascal and Jakob when they came in as rookies. It may be a very much a learning curve, and there may be a lot of confusion. So we'll have to see how it goes with the Rockets. Monique saying Armani Brooks back in the league. Yeah, happy for him, even if he's going to be on the Nets. In some ways, I really like Armani. In some ways, he could have helped the Raptors this year. That's for sure. In some ways, Stargate saying Nick Nurse wanted so much to stick it to the Raptors and only took that Sixers job out of spite. Well, Nick, your emotionalism caused you to make a bad career decision. I totally believe this, Stargate. I said it immediately after he did it. You fucked up, bro. You should have went to the desert and coached that super team out in the middle of the desert with a brand new, fresh owner who's very enthusiastic and is giving that team everything. And they're messing with the salary cap rules. You should have went to Phoenix. You could have been coaching Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Bol. You messed up. And I know you were being nice to Adrian and saying, I want Adrian to get this job just in case the Raptors are going to try and get him still. If they don't have a backup plan, they'll get Adrian Griffin to come back and replace me. Well, I'll let Adrian get the Milwaukee job. You should have took the Milwaukee job, Nick. You would have been way better off with Giannis and that championship caliber team, that team with such a good retention from last season. They kept everybody from last season. They're going to be very good. And Adrian's going to have a lot of fun coaching them. Well, no, you didn't do that. You had that option. They wanted you to take that job. But you said, no, I'm not going to take this job. You should talk to my friend, Dr. Adrian Griffin. He would be great for this job. Okay, they go talk to Dr. Adrian Griffin. They hire him. Nick goes and, okay, Nick's going to take the Philadelphia job? Well, yeah, that's what they say. Don't make your decisions out of hate. You step in it. You fuck up. And that's what has happened here. You were mad at us. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to a division rival and try and fuck up the Raptors with Philadelphia. Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. You had much better places to land after Toronto that you could have taken, but you didn't because you went in spite. And now you get the hell that you get for your life. Yeah, that's what happens. Seriously. Now, on a good note, I want to praise Nick Nurse for this. Nick Nurse Foundation raised $40,000 for Toronto area youngsters who want to play music. That is what the Nick Nurse Foundation does. They raise money for young kids that want to have band equipment to play music. And this is such a huge, important, great thing. And I commend Nick Nurse for his philanthropic things here in Toronto still, and that he's still keeping to it. So in some way, he's not a horrible guy. I love Nick in so many different ways, but he is the enemy now. But thank you for your Nick Nurse Foundation getting instruments to underprivileged kids who may not have had the chance to play those instruments here in Toronto. That is a big, nice thing I'll say about Nick right there. Mike is saying, I'm trying to talk on the logic of the true goal, a championship. If you're a Raptors fan to just watch players you like, okay, that's not the plot. Drafting Scotty was the best thing since the championship. I think that's right. In some ways, you're right. I think that's true. Listen, I'm at some points, I think that this championship or bust mentality of fan bases and NBA people in general, it needs to go away to a certain degree. That people need to be okay with success, that there's only one team out of 30 that's going to win the championship every year. And there's going to be disappointed people all around. And in some ways, the overreaction to not completely making it to the championship and busting up teams is not smart. If you're close to making the championship, why don't you try and tinker with it just a little bit and you'll get all the way there? But people look at it and they're like, oh, they failed. They didn't make it and they didn't win the championship. They want to destroy it all. That doesn't make any sense to me. It really, really doesn't. If you're close to getting there already, wouldn't you just like to just make a couple minor changes and hope that that will actually get you over the top? So I want to amend this, especially with us, because we don't know when we're going to be a serious championship contender again. It could be very quickly, but it could be a little bit too. That Raptors Nation needs to kind of look at how they look at the Raptors winning and losing and take the winning as that's great. Even if it's not at the level where we're going to be champions or we're going to be going to the finals, that in some ways the over appetite for being champions is bad for our franchise and our fan nation. That we need to be okay with being winning. It's like Iceman said earlier, we have been winning for so long that people are spoiled on it, that it's not good enough. We win all the time, and that should be good enough. Seriously, there's franchises in this league that have had horrible losing for most of their existence, and we are not one of them, thank God. And it could have easily been that. If the NBA had had their way, we would have been one of those teams like Minnesota or Charlotte. So, y'all, let's get a reality check. Let's be very happy that we are overall a winning franchise. If we don't make championships, can y'all be okay with that and be like, you know what, we were a success this year, even if we didn't win? And that's what I'm talking about. The championship or bust mentality is toxic and harmful in a lot of ways. And that's the way I'm looking at it at this point. Nako's saying, I can see Fred and Sengun being exciting. See, Nako's a NBA fan. He's got his eyes wide open. And I could see this as being an interesting pairing. I don't know. I don't want to wish good things for them. If they find that chemistry on their own, so be it. But yeah. All right, Nako, I could see that possibly being happening. Yeah, for sure. MSJ saying, and Fred, I'm still not getting how he fits the Rockets. He's going to fit as a shooting guard between Porter and Green. Not sure that's a fit. He's going to be their point guard. He's going to start at point guard, and Green is more likely to be their shooting guard, and Dylan Brooks will be their small forward. It'll be something like that. And then they'll have like Jabari at power forward and then Sengun at center or something like that. It'll be something like that. Although they have so many good, young, talented guys like Cam Whitmore is just the MVP of the Summer League. You got Tari Eason. You got a lot of good players around Houston right now that are all going to be wanting to start, and that's going to cause problems right there because they're all going to be ambiguously around the same place and in the same place in their career. And then you have these old vets, like it may be Dylan Brooks is not starting, that he's going to have to come off the bench, but Fred will have to start. Fred is just that guy, and MA is going to want him to start. So it's going to be interesting to see. Fred is their point guard. They've designated him the point guard. MA wants him to run this team, and he wants him to be in charge because he needs that stability and the leadership and maturity to lead these young Rockets. So Fred is going to be starting point guard. It may sound like he will be the shooting guard or something. Maybe he'll shoot a lot. I don't know. But he's supposed to be the guy running things as the extension of Udoka as the coach. That's their plan anyway. G saying, sounds like Dalano made the decision to leave. I'm leaving. I'm hearing too many home distractions, but also wondering if champagne or a bad taste in his mouth with his time last season were a factor. I don't know if we offered him money. I think that this is what it is. And I'm going to go off of something me personally I experienced with on Twitch with Dalano earlier this summer. There was a Twitch stream where Dalano got on for a quick second with his buddies here in Toronto that were in the apparel company in your city, and they were giving away apparel and talking and on there. And I asked Delano straight up, I said, "Are you practicing with Coloco at OVO every day?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." But he was kind of morose when he said that. It wasn't like he was enthusiastic about it or very like, yeah, I am with Coloco. It's kind of more like, yeah, yeah, I'm at OVO. But it's like, in some ways, that was kind of telling me something's wrong. And then even him being at the press conference for Darko, Darko did mention Dalano and saying, I do want to work with Dalano. I think that Dalano and his agents knew that the Raptors were probably not going to continue to keep him. The decision was made by the Raptors. This was not a decision made by Dalano. Dalano would have stayed with us if they'd offered him a contract. They let him go. They seriously did. They let him go. He was a restricted free agent, and they could have had a chance to try and stop him from going, and they could have tied him up, but they didn't. They didn't. They let him go. And it could be for all kinds of different reasons. It could be partly you're saying that there maybe were home distractions. It could partly be that they didn't like what he was doing with the team or something like maybe with around the team as a personality. I don't know. It could also a huge factor. Well, obviously, if the Raptors aren't interested in him, he can look around the league. Well, he sees one of his best friends, Justin, in Boston. Well, he's like, all right, maybe I'll go to Boston and be with Justin again, because I do very much value his friendship and being around each other. So I think that's what it is right there, is that, Justin being with Boston is a big part. Boston obviously was interested in him and sees value in him and wants to start using him. They used him in summer league. And the Raptors just they didn't see him in the plans going forward, which is weird. And some people will say, well, that's a screw up by Masai that he didn't see him in the plans. Well, maybe they didn't see it where it fits with everybody else. And if they're making a tough decision, they're like, well, Delano's somebody we can let go. Would you value Dalano over Jeff Dowtin Jr.? In some ways, I wouldn't, because Jeffrey's a more solid pro already than Dalano is. So it's like it may have been kind of like these little kind of decisions in that kind of way. And he just kind of fallen through the cracks. And it could be that after the season was over and his situation, his agent was kind of already advising him, saying, I don't think Toronto's going to keep you and you're going to be on another team next year. So he's already kind of down about it when I saw him on Twitch. So I think he knew the writing was on the wall and that he was going to be moving on this summer. And it's not a surprise. And it was the Raptors' decision not to retain him. Trust me, it was their decision. It wasn't his. He probably, if they had thrown an offer at him, he would have taken it and stayed here in Toronto. But we didn't. We decided to let him go. That's very much what happened. Travis Garnett is here. Good to see Travis Garnett, a new name. Every morning we're here talking about Raptors. 9:30 a.m. Eastern time every single day. If you have a Jones to talk about Raptors stuff in the middle of July or August, this is your channel. We'll be talking Raptors all summer. We don't care what's going on. The Blue Jays are having fantastic stuff. The Leafs are in disarray. It's whatever going on in the middle of summer. We're talking Raptors here, baby. Good to see you, Travis. Happy birthday to Mr. OG. That's right. 26th birthday, OG Ananobi. Hopefully you're having a pleasant birthday this week. Walking down Spadina Avenue with a nice young lady in a sundress, and you're going to go read books later afterwards with a nice walk by the lake and maybe reading some books that you will not tell us what they are later on. You cannot remember what the name of the book was, and that's fine, OG. We love you. Wayne's saying, I would be shocked if Jeff is not taken care of. Front office has plans not yet known. Wieskamp was unfortunate in the group he played with that didn't mesh with his skill set. Otto here, not needed. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think this is all pretty on point, Wayne's saying here. I would be very shocked if Jeff's not all of a sudden, like if he's all of a sudden gone. I'm like, well, what was the whole point of what we did with him just now? Okay, we're really just helping him out with Canadian healthcare and his surgery. Okay, well, I guess that helped him. He got Canadian healthcare. Let's see. I think the front office does have plans. I think it's really just plans to be flexible in the next month or so, considering what's going to happen. And it's really not in their favor to nail down every single position that's in their roster for the season coming up. They want competition in preseason and training camp to get those last spots. So they have to leave these open spots ambiguously open at least right up until the very end, because that's a carrot in front of everybody to compete to make the team. And so I don't expect any of these questions to be answered until almost September. So we're going to have to see how things morph and change depending on big deals around the league with Lillard and Harden, and whether the Raptors react and then and locking up and tying up people like Jeff Dowtin Jr. or Ron Harper Jr. and those kind of things. I don't think they're doing it just to be flexible for right now. Yeah, and I hope Otto's healthy, and that is a big reason why we wouldn't need Joe Wieskamp. That for sure, right there. That is definitely true. Iceman saying TD had all the charges dropped. Adrian Griffin had a similar situation while coaching the Raps. Many in Toronto media tried to make TD guilty before all the facts came out in a court of law. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying it's right what happened with Terrence Davis. It's just a perception thing. And, in some ways, it's a different thing. These aren't the same situations. Adrian Griffin was his ex-wife was found to be very much like fabricating lies about him. His family has all come out and supported and denounced his ex-wife and what she's saying as being just very like trying to get revenge on him and trying to stymie his life out of pain and hurt from their history. Now, the Terrence Davis thing is a little different, though. Something that happened was that he like smashed a phone or he did something. I know he was exonerated and charges were dropped, but it was very ambiguous at the time. And maybe it was a little unfair. The court of opinion put on blast because the media and the way they portrayed it. This is a sensitive subject for people. Now, we know athletes and different professions do have a proclivity. Some of them do have for abusing their partners in the history of the places. And it's a horrible, ugly secret. If there's anybody still doing shit like Ray Rice did in that elevator anywhere in any league, I want them kicked out. I do not want people who are beating up women or children or anybody really playing sports and getting paid a high amount of money around on TV. So I have zero tolerance for this kind of stuff. But also, that there's false accusations and things aren't exactly right. If there's any kind of ambiguousness about whether Terrence did something or not, in some ways it's better for us to just avoid it. There's a lot of people in this league. And like I said, I know of at least 5 people that refused to watch the Raptors that season when Terrence was on our team after that summer with the incident with his girlfriend in New York. So it may not be fair to Terrence. You're exactly right. In some ways, this is exactly what MA was talking about. Toronto is just really woke. And it may be in Sacramento, they don't give a shit about this kind of stuff. But people here care about this kind of stuff. They very much should, and they do. And maybe they should care in other places more. But also, I want fairness to Terrence Davis, especially with whatever happened. Now, Miles Bridges, that's an interesting story because it's very blatant what he did. And in some ways, some people are saying, well, I don't want this guy around my team ever again for what he did to his wife. It's such a sticky situation. Police officers beat their wives a lot in different places. This is a horrible thing, domestic violence, and it needs to be stopped in all professions. And any athletes that are having domestic violence against their partners, they need to just stop because we should have zero tolerance for it. The way that they punish people for betting or doing other things in the NFL versus domestic violence is gross, is egregious. They'll take a guy's whole season for just making a sports bet. Meanwhile, a guy could beat up his girlfriend and she's almost dead in the hospital, and he gets like 2-game suspension. So in some ways, some of this needs to be evened out and a little bit more punitive towards domestic violence abusers that are in sports. So I don't know. This is a tough subject, and there's a lot of like 2 stories. There's 3 stories. There's her story, his story, and then the truth. And we don't know what it is exactly. So Seymour saying Malika Andrews type media people. I like Malika Andrews, and this is important. We're going to progress as a society. We need to have more woke kind of topics. And she specifically is championing women's rights issues, and that is very much important. There's more and more women involved on TV broadcasts for men's sports, and that is really good. There's more women refereeing. There's more women just being involved in general, coaching. And this is really, really, really good. There's gender walls that were up for so long against women in men's sports that are coming down. And I'm glad. This is really good. Representation matters and opportunity matters. And this isn't an old boys club anymore. And she represents that. And she is very good at her job. I know a lot of people malign her and don't like her because she says things that people don't like to hear. And I fully support her. And I like a lot of stuff. Now, some of the stuff she may say may be like not fair and maybe out of context. And maybe she's a little irresponsible at times. But for the most part, what she represents and what she's trying to do on ESPN is very important, and it's groundbreaking and it's progressive and it's moving us forward as a society. So let's see. Mo's saying, I like where we are at the Raptors Nation. Glad you catch Emily's YouTube channel, Lex. Yeah, Ellen. Her name's Ellen. Yeah, I really like they both have channels. I've really noticed that Dennis Schroeder's channel is more about him and his career away, and then she will have more of the family content with the kids and Dennis with her and the family, like their vacation in Mexico and like showing off like different parts of their house and stuff. It's really cool, the full access to Dennis and Ellen Schroeder. So go and give them follows on YouTube. He's definitely like, hit subscribe, y'all. He says it a lot in different places. It's hilarious. Dennis is awesome. David's saying the Rockets are a dumpster fire. Good luck with our biggest problem. David's got some extra spite today. I love it. Yeah, I don't know if he was our biggest problem. Last year, our biggest problem was Nick. I'm very, very positive it was Nick. I don't think Fred was as big of a problem as everybody thinks, but Fred's a very special player in certain ways. I don't know if Fred's going to have as much success in Houston in that environment with that team and those teammates and that franchise as he did in Toronto. In some ways, he was given things and like catered to here in Toronto, just like Nick was, that they're not going to be in the same place with their franchise like they were here. In some ways, they're like the new guy, and they're like, "Oh, we really want you to come and save us," kind of mentality. It's like with Nick and Fred. And in some ways, that's a lot more extra pressure than they would have had just being in Toronto still. So they're like saviors for their two franchises, the Sixers and the Rockets. And yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And we'll have to see how it goes. I think that there's going to be issues for sure. Infamous is saying the Raptors are the second most winning team in the last 10 years, only behind Golden State. Those asking for Masai's head can eat a bag of dicks. Oh, yeah. I completely agree about that, Infamous. I will double down on this one for sure. You know what? I'm going to give you a dunk just for speaking truths. And also, I just like that. I like what you just said, Infamous. So you're getting a dunk for that one. Adriana would like to apologize for yesterday. No reason to apologize, Adriana. Life happens. Your grandmother was in trouble. We needed to go and make sure she was okay. I love you, and I hope you're okay today yourself. And I hope Baba's good too. Trevor's saying Nick Nurse went to Philadelphia like the big bad wolf. I will huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Maybe he is an undercover agent for us. Maybe he really does hate Philadelphia and he's sad. Maybe we're all acting right now. Like Nick acted at the end. He's like, let's do a thing like in wrestling. I'll act like I'm like giving up on you guys. Masai, you say, oh, I can't trust Nick anymore, so I'm going to fire him. But we really, really on the download, absolutely super trust him because he's going in as a rogue agent and he's going to absolutely turn the Sixers franchise upside down when he comes there. He's already doing it. What if that's what happened? It's like this is all a big fucking like work that he's like going down there to destroy him. I know this isn't wrestling and this is probably not true in any kind of way, but what if it works out kind of like this, where we fire Nick, he's hired by Philadelphia and he destroys their franchise somehow, some way. That would be really crazy, honestly. Mike saying Masai made a precursor move again, similar to when he came in 2013. He traded Rudy Gay, and that signaled to the team he's going to blow it up if they don't start winning. Nick was the precursor to get dog. Listen, that is kind of like what, these guys worry about staying together. Well, that's the way they put the carrot in front of them. He said, you guys got to win to stay together. And if you don't win, I'm going to start trading some of you guys. Now, I didn't like how Gary Trent Sr. said that a lot of the Raptors were worried about getting traded last season. In his interview, he's saying like a lot of the Raptors were looking over their shoulders, kind of worried because they were on the trading block or they heard trading rumors. Listen, we can't have that, Bobby Masai. Y'all need to let them know they're safe. Maybe kind of give them a timeline. It was like, look, if we don't play this well by this time, around the trade deadline, I might move some of y'all. So y'all need to kick so much ass in the first half of the season that I will not want to trade any of you guys. And it's really partly in your power. If you guys are clicking and you're playing very, very well, then don't worry about trade rumors. I'm not interested in moving y'all because y'all are doing what you're supposed to do. That's a really good motivation for a team, especially a team that really likes being together. It's obvious these Raptors love being a unit together, and they'll want to protect that and play really well together. So I love this kind of motivation for a team. Is like, you guys love playing together, we'll win, and then you can stay together. And I think that's exactly right, Mike. Nako's saying the Leafs got to second round after quite a bit. Isn't that progress? Yeah, I'm really proud of the Leafs getting the second round this year. I'm really happy they got over that hump. But how many times in the last 30 years did the Leafs get in the first round and lose right away out of the league? And how often did Leafs fans go, oh, again, not again, not again? They're conditioned to fail, to feel failure and project failure and anticipate it. I don't want to be a team that anticipates failure like the Leafs do. I want to be a team that anticipates winning and getting to the top. And that's the difference right there. I'm glad they made progress this year. And I would be happy if the Leafs could exercise a lot of their weird, we're loser mentality kind of stuff. If they won this cup, this could actually really hurt. It could hurt the Raptors in some ways, but it could actually really help the Raptors also, because it could maybe take some of the jadedness and negativity out of Leafs Nation because they're too busy celebrating because they're so happy they won. So the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup this year, if they're one of the top teams and they can win the Stanley Cup in the NHL this year, I will be all about that, because maybe it'll take some of the loser mentality out of Leaf Nation and they'll chill out on their jaded, cynical negativeness. That's what I'm saying. They'll feel real good if they got a parade and everything's going on. Now, in some ways, that'll bring the profile of the NHL and the Leafs back up in a forefront in Toronto versus the Raptors. But I may be willing to take that just to have the Leafs Nation to shut up and stop being so negative because they're happy that they won finally. So, there's trade-offs here. There's trade-offs. Let's keep going. David is saying, is that progress? No, not really. Is it? They did get the second round and then got bounced by the Panthers. It is what it is. Mike's saying complacency was said to be the issue with that missing dog attitude. And so you fire the championship coach, and that gets people feeling not complacent, hungry to make things work and fight for the guys. Yeah, you get rid of a point guard who eats up a lot of minutes. You get rid of the championship coach. It's uneasy. You have a new coach you got to prove yourself to. There's opportunity because there's a big chunk of time and points that needs to be fulfilled. Yeah, this is how you light a fire under people's asses and get them motivated to go above and beyond what they did last year. That is a big part of it. Darko is going to be great at motivating himself with enthusiasm and new ideas and guys really buying into his intellect and his way of seeing things. I mean, I think that's something I've seen Scotty quoted so far already this summer, saying that Darko looks at the game very differently, and he's very much about everybody getting to touch the ball. This is going to be very interesting to see how Darko runs our team as far as the offensive sets and the balance of who's getting shots and who's getting looks and how they get them. That's very important. They want to get the right shots to the right people, not just designated people take the shots and try and force shots through bad ideas. Like defensive coverage is really strong and they're still trying to force shots just because it's their shot. No, fuck that. Work the ball around. There's somebody open. If you're getting doubled, there's somebody open somewhere and you need to get that ball to that open guy. And that was something we didn't do very well with the Raptors last year, that we tried to force our way through double and triple teams. There's somebody open somewhere. Pass that ball, throw it over the corner just like everybody was doing to us and get that open three. Is what's going on there. Yeah, I like the hungriness. I like more dog in our team. We got a new little dog, Marquise Nowell, and he's going to be pushing everybody from the bottom with his competitive heart over height mentality. And he will be pushing and stirring that drink and saying, look, if y'all don't get your ass going, this guy's going to be just like Fred. He's going to burn a path right up through the middle of the roster, and he's going to be the starting point guard eventually if y'all don't get your act in gear. That is the kind of kick in the butt you can get from the bottom of the roster when you have Nowell on a two-way coming from the bottom of the roster with his inertia. Look out. That's what I'm saying. That's the same kind of shit that we rode with Fred. When he came in, he did the same thing on 905. He pushed everybody above him. Corey Joseph, Kyle Lowry. Those guys had to get their ass in gear. DeLon Wright, because Fred was coming. Well, Marquise is coming now. And that will motivate the other guys on the team to go above and beyond because they're going to be worried about their spot. Nowell's coming. I better play better or Nowell's going to take my roster spot. That's right. Let's see. Stargate saying, I've always said biggest rivals of the Raptors are the Maple Leafs. The average older Leaf fans historically have always hated and had vitriol for the Raptors and basketball in general. Yes. Stargate, yes. So accurate with this. Traditionalists of Canada and Canadian culture hate the Raptors. Absolutely hate the Raptors. They see the young people loving it. In some ways, it's married in with like newcomers coming to Canada. The Raptors represent immigration, represent a diverse mosaic of our society. And the Leafs represent the old school, old white, old, like everything is like this is our white traditional Canada country. You know, in some ways, people are worried in xenophobic ways of more people moving to Canada. And in some ways, the Raptors represent this stuff in some ways with people like Nab Bhatia as a super fan. And the makeup of our fan nation is younger and way more multicultural and diverse than Leafs Nation to a degree. Now, it is very multicultural and diverse, and there is some youth in Leaf Nation also, but not on the same scale as Raptors. And in some ways, hockey traditionalists can look at all this and see the age pyramid of the fan nations and be like, whoa, Leaf fans are dying out and Raptor fans are increasing in number at the younger ages. So that's part of it right there. They're threatened by this shit. And in some ways, that's part of what tries to hold us down as our own country and like hockey people that are threatened by basketball becoming more popular and more like entrenched in Canadian culture. That is part of it right there. And Stargate's right. And this doesn't takes a couple of 60 or 70-year-old Leaf fans around Toronto that don't like basketball at all to get in a comment section and just start saying things like fire Masai, get rid of this thing, just get rid of the team altogether. I hate that team. Why do they even have basketball in Canada? This is a hockey country. You know, there are people that are like that. They will be like that. Seriously. David's saying they should have fired Nick Nurse right after that interview in Philly. Maybe. I mean, in hindsight, maybe Masai, probably considered it. We would have had a better playoff run probably without Nick around. You know, that would have been interesting. He fires him and Adrian's our coach all of a sudden, and he gets a chance to run that team into the playoffs. We may have gotten past Chicago and maybe we would have gotten really far. Nick really did give up. It's crazy. Monique saying news and notes. Northside Crew's auditions are happening now and looking good. That's right. When we were at Real Sports the other day, I went over to Center Sports into the arena and I saw the signs up outside saying, do you want to be on the Northside Crew? We are auditioning right now. So y'all, if y'all got any moves, you got some B-boy moves, you can moonwalk, maybe pop and lock a little bit. Maybe you need to go try out for Northside Crew. This is the time of year where all the Raptors in-game ops stuff is an audition, whether it's to be the dance pack, the Lil Ballers, or even to sing the national anthems before the games. If you got some vocal chops, they have an open call for you to go down there. You could actually get up there and do that Doug Tranquata. Oh, Canada, my home and native land. You know, you could get up there. Maybe I need to go try out for that. You see old Raptors freaks sing the Canadian national anthem before the Raptors game. That would be fun, actually. Maybe I should do that. Seymour saying when 25 million gets put into hockey every year and 3 or 4 million for every other sport in this country on an international level, what do you expect? Leafs ain't a rival. It's just hockey runs Canada. Yeah. You know, this is something that people have talked about is like the monies for the national teams. Canadian men's hockey is like the doted on child in Canadian Olympic programs. Like, here's all the money, everything you want. And same thing for the women's hockey, too. Everything y'all want. You can have whatever you want. Now, basketball, Team Canada, Rowan Barrett's basketball world. Well, did they get the same kind of support? I don't know. It's probably way better than it used to be. I mean, honestly, who knows when Leo Routins was coaching this team or other people in past recent years, did they get all the same kind of stuff? No, they probably didn't get the same kind of budgets or the same kind of like support from international Canadian Olympic body for the whole country, and that's just what it is. It's in some ways. Yeah, it's hockey does run this country in a lot of ways, but the Raptors are a very upstart brand that's super popular and in some ways way more growing than hockey is at this point. Some ways hockey is more declining and basketball is growing, and that scares the shit out of a lot of white people in Canada. Trust me. Monique saying, why number 5 for Fred? Laugh out loud. All right, Monique, I'm glad you brought up this question. And I did research on this, and I can tell you why. Well, the number 23 in the Rockets franchise is retired. That's Calvin Murphy's number. Calvin Murphy is one of the most storied Rockets before Olajuwon. He was a short guard, very important guard in the Rockets' history. So that number is retired for that team. Well, you add 2 plus 3, you get 5. And that's why he's wearing number 5. He can't wear number 23. So he's just taken his number and added it together to make it 5. So Fred will be number 5 for the Houston Rockets because Calvin Murphy is a jersey up in the rafters, number 23. David saying, gearing up for the 5th Man of the Year award. Hey, yeah, 5th Man of the Year. Stargate saying, hey, Lex, just an off-topic question. Were you in Tallahassee when Charlie Ward was in his Heisman run? If so, how crazy was it? You know what? This is a great question, Stargate. I was in Tallahassee. This is really kind of a cool answer. I started at Florida State my freshman year, the year Charlie Ward won the Heisman and we won the national championship. That the first year I started at Florida State, Charlie Ward was there. And yes, I was on campus. I was like a young freshman. I was very, very young. And I was totally around that whole environment, and it was nuts. And then when I graduated from Florida State in 98, that was the year Winky won the Heisman, and we won another national championship. So my FSU experience at Florida State was very much bookended by 2 national football championships and 2 Heismans, Chris Winky and Charlie Ward. And man, yeah, I was around all of that. I was very much grown up in Tallahassee, where Bobby Bowden country was. That man was the mayor of Tallahassee. It wasn't the mayor of Tallahassee, wasn't somebody else. It was Bobby Bowden, and that was Bobby Bowden City. So yeah, it really does inform the way I cheer for the Raptors. Is I cheer for the Raptors like a Seminole would cheer for the Florida State Seminoles football team in the 90s. And we were winning a lot back then. And we had a crazy belief in our team that would suspend the truth just to believe rosy colored things about the Seminoles. We had some Seminole players that may get in a little bit of trouble. You have some charge here or something like that. But we always like to look the other way and just think the best for our team and root for them no matter what. And that is a big part of why I root for the Raptors the way I do. Because I was trained to root for the Florida State Seminoles in Tallahassee in a very, very biased way. We were fighting against the Florida Gators nation in Florida. Blue and orange versus garnet and gold is such a big rivalry in that state. And this all very much informs how I root for the Raptors today. Growing up as a young person, living in Tallahassee and seeing how the community roots for the Seminoles and their football team. But yeah, I was there for both. And amazing time, seriously. In fact, for the second one, I was on a press pass and was a part of covering the Seminoles at that time on the radio. And I used to get to interview the Seminoles in their locker room, and I would sit up in the press box with popcorn and all the stats. And I was even on the field at the end of the game in those big circular, when they come up and run up and talk to Bobby Bowden and the coaches shake hands after the game. I was one of those reporters standing behind Bobby Bowden on ABC national television because I was covering them at that time. So this is great memories of covering Florida State football in the 90s for the radio station back in the day. Yeah, really cool stuff. I remember interviewing Sebastian Janikowski, Andre Wadsworth, a lot of great NFL players that ended up getting to the NFL from Florida State. I interviewed them in person, and I was on ABC behind Bobby Bowden. There's an old clip of me when we beat Florida Florida State. I'm standing on screen behind Bobby. You can see me in a caption, and if you capture it on TV. So yeah, it was very crazy. It was a lot of fun, honestly. Let's see. All right, let's keep going. I love all the comments. So not really going to have a cutoff just in case because I have a lot of time today, and it's no big deal. Fiercely saying, Adriana, I hope your grandma is doing well. She seemed like she's doing all right. Adriana just wanted to be there for her and support while it's all confusing. And she's going to have a plumber come into their house. Well, Adriana can be there to kind of help mediate things. And she did a really good job as a great granddaughter to her grandmother yesterday. Really, really proud of her for coming and helping her out. Seymour saying Wieskamp got waived. Yeah, he got waived on Monday. That spot is open. Nako saying there's a heaven and a hell for how the Raptors can turn out. I hope that we're just going to go towards heaven. Let me see, Fiercey, if I skipped your Gradey comment. Let me see. I don't see a Gradey comment. The quote before that, I see the Fred did have great court vision when passing to Jakob. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And I don't see that comment about Gradey. Oh, maybe because I didn't say something about Gradey getting with Adidas or something. Let me get back to where Fiercey is, and we'll just keep going. Let's see. Hi, Lex. You missed my Gradey comment when it skipped. Okay, where is it? I don't see it. Maybe it didn't go through. I don't know. I don't see it anywhere, Fiercey. I apologize. If you don't mind, write it again, and I'll make sure I read it this time. That's so weird. I don't know why I didn't see that. All right, let's keep going. Mike saying it's karma for snubbing our VC peak. Philly won that round, but not championship war. We got the glory, so all is right in my books. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into karma. I don't want to talk about like this and that. In some ways, it's a dangerous thing to talk about. You're talking about when Vince was on our team and they beat us, and then they went to the finals and lost the Lakers anyway. Yeah. You know, a history with the Sixers and the Raptors is really kind of very interesting. There's a lot of interesting places and things that have happened with us. You know, one of the things I saw on that Joel Embiid bash list of stats is the best team that the Sixers have beaten in the playoffs in recent years is our team in the first round last year. That series, Scotty's rookie year, where we lost to the Sixers, that in some ways they point to as their best playoff victory in the playoffs in recent years. That tells you a lot right there. Seriously. Sheer Constant, good morning, Raptor Freak family. Just wanted to vent a bit about the Hoops Collective podcast. Their takes are without any nuance and only spreadsheet and analysts without any major insight or valid sources. Even Wendy is the same. Interesting. I'm not very familiar with Hoops Collective. Maybe I've read some of their stuff on Twitter. Listen, that's one thing. You can look at stats and you can quote stats, but if you don't really have any understanding of like what shapes the stats or what you can interpret the stats past the numbers and what it really actually means on the court, that I don't like people that just analyze stats. I know sometimes I just read stat lines, but I really do try and embold or flesh them out with some sort of reasoning or something you should look at with it. I don't know. It's interesting how different people handle that. You know, Winders is a different kind of weird guy. Like he very much is a speculator and somebody who's trying to kind of like prognosticate what might happen. And so he can be wrong a lot of times in how he bases things for sure. Seymour saying Cam Whitmore is a killer player. Yeah, I think this is kind of similar to Keegan Murray last year. He took things as an insult. Keegan Murray was insulted because he was a top 5 pick and nobody was talking about him. They were talking about all the other players in the top 5 except for him. Well, he went to Summer League and kicked major ass and made them have to talk about him. Well, Cam Whitmore dropped in the draft major down to the 20th pick, and he was pretty slighted by that. And he had something to work out on them. And that was a big reason why I think he's a Summer League MVP because he fell to 20. Fiercely saying Harden took a pay cut last year in hopes it would help the Sixers grab assets to win, but it did not change anything, and his performance last season may not help his negotiating. Yeah, a lot of people don't see the value in him. Like there's different values. There's other teams, the way they look at James and his value, which is probably the most realistic. Then there's James, of course, in his own head, in his own value. And then Daryl Morey's idea of what the value of James. It's not all lining up. There's very few teams that want players like Kyrie and James. Forgive us. Seriously, we've seen the history with these guys in recent years. Why would anybody bend over backwards and give some sort of crazy good package for either Kyrie Irving or James Harden? I think Mark Cuban was smart enough to understand there is no market for Kyrie Irving out there. So he might as well just keep the value and keep him in tow with him. And in some ways, that's what Morey wants to do with Harden, but he's upset and he doesn't want to be there. Well, that puts him in a really hard place because the rest of the league does not value James Harden the way he thinks they should anymore. And Daryl Morey's not going to get what he wants for him in return. And this is a good point by Hearsay that Harden took a pay cut to try and help Morey with his roster build, and he's still managing to bungle it. And that may be part of the reason why Harden and Embiid are upset, is that they did their part or something. Maybe Harden's like, well, I took a pay cut to help you, and you're still not doing things correctly. Well, I want out. It's crazy. I don't want to be the Sixers right now. Holy crap. I'm much happier with where the Raptors are than where the Sixers are, honestly. Infamous is saying, glad to see everything worked out with your family. Yeah, I'm happy about that too. Emergencies happen sometimes. And this was a situation where I had to leave very quickly. I haven't had that happen on this stream very often. Thank goodness. Knock on wood. Jan's here. Good to see Jan. Great Raptor freak, Jan. Hello. What are your thoughts on the Raptors going after Ayo Dosunmu from the Bulls? I think it's not necessary at this point. I've heard rumors and a lot of people talking about it. It could possibly happen, but I don't think it's necessary. In some ways, we'll see if it works to that point. It could be in some ways we're just nodding that he is a player that's on our list that we could possibly get down the road. It's people like Thad Young or a Dennis Schroder that we've had our eye on for a bit. So it may be very evident that Ayo is on a list that we could possibly acquire him down the road at some point. But I don't think there's anything imperative right now, Jan, as far as like Ayo coming here. We're pretty full and it would take a trade. And in some ways, we're good at point guard right now. We have the right amount of point guards right now, honestly. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. Thursday Think Tank. Who should be the point guards hierarchy on the Raptors for this season? I want y'all to rank the 5 point guards and what order you would put them in, how they should be playing for the Raptors. We could basically do a start bench cut, but it would be start bench, third backup, G League, and then, maybe you cut the 5th one or maybe not. You just say, this is the backup. Monique's saying 5 years ago, yesterday, Raptors acquired Kawhi and Danny. Yes, a great anniversary yesterday. This is going to be a very interesting year for the Raptors because this is going to be the 5th year anniversary of our championship in 2019. So there's going to be a lot of anniversary stuff. 5 years ago, this, 5 years ago, this, 5 years ago, yesterday, Masai and Bobby made the deal with DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl going to San Antonio for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green. And we know what happened with that trade in the next year. So we're going to get our 5-year anniversary on a lot of cool stuff this season. And we will have to celebrate it for sure. 5 years since the 2019 championship is a big deal. And we're going to get all those 5-year anniversaries coming up real fast now. Big one yesterday, the acquiring of Kawhi Leonard. Very, very big deal. And thank you, Monique, for bringing it up. It's definitely something we want to note, and I appreciate you for it. Elijah's saying Amen could make a Fred situation shitty. He looked nice. I try not to get too high on Rooks, but those twins could be a problem. Fred's money is what is going to keep him on the floor, in my opinion. That's a very astute comment by Elijah Hutchins. I think you're right. You pay somebody that amount of money, they better be eating up minutes and starting. You can't have a guy like that come off the bench. Now, what if it gets to a weird situation where Fred is not as good as Amen Thompson? And they'd be way better off starting him at point guard. And Fred's kind of in a weird limbo where he's making $40 million a year, but he's not even starting. The loyalty towards Fred that we've showed him here in Canada does not necessarily translate to Texas. He does not have everything just given to him. He's going to have to kind of keep his spot and earn it. In some ways, he may be in more trouble for derision and criticalness because he doesn't have as many allies around the franchise as he did here in Toronto. So we're going to have to see this situation. I think Elijah's hinting on something with Amen Thompson They could be very real. He got hurt in summer league, so he didn't really play in summer league like his brother did for Detroit. But if he's the better brother than Osur, yeah, the Osur Thompson for the Pistons in summer league was absolutely fantastic. And I think Elijah's onto something here. And he very well may have just painted a picture where it may be uncomfortable for Fred. Yep. Mike's saying, I'm saying getting championship guys or guys that grow into them is the plot. Fred leaving is where it's at. But saying that's the best thing that happened since the championship isn't logical in a mission. In some ways, this is just the way I am, Mike. If somebody's going to say something positive, even if it's hurtful towards Fred in his absence and him leaving, I'm all for it. If they want to say that Fred leaving is the best thing for our team since the championship, let them have their opinion. We know it's Scotty. We know Scotty's the best thing, and I agree with you. But in some ways, I see kind of what they're saying. This could be a really good thing for us in some ways. Fred not holding up so much on our team as far as responsibilities. Those responsibilities go to other people, and all of a sudden, boom, people flourish and grow really quickly on our team. And then some of the Fred haters from last year, what they were saying is proven to be true to an extent. I'm open to this because this helps the Raptors. That's all I care about. I just want what helps the Raptors. Fred was on our team. He helped us. And he was very much somebody that I protected and loved. But he's not on our team anymore. So if we can get better with him in his absence, I'm all for that. I just want us to be better. Seymour saying, I wear all my city's apparel proudly out of town Raptors, Jays, Leafs, Argos. We don't divide, we conquer. I love all the Toronto teams. I love the Argos. I love the Leafs. I get mad at the Leafs because of issues with their fan nation. But like I said, my father, he grew up here in Toronto in the 50s. He was going to Maple Leaf Gardens when they were winning Stanley Cups. And he was very much a big Leafs fan. So I have it in my blood. My family's from Toronto, and we are Leafs fans historically for like 50 years. So it's not like it's just something weird for me. In some ways, I am supposed to be a Leaf fan, but I'm much more of a basketball fan than a hockey fan. But I could have been just as diehard about the hockey as I am about basketball if I had not been moved to Florida as a young kid and played basketball instead of hockey. That's really the big difference with me. If I had lived in Toronto as a young kid, I would have played hockey, and I may have been more of a hockey person than basketball. There wouldn't be no Raptor streak if I had lived in Canada when I was a kid, I think. And so I'm very grateful that I grew up in Florida to a degree because basketball became my sport. And it just happened to time really well with the Raptors franchise coming around and me being like, yes, I love the Raptors in basketball way more than I love the NHL and hockey. And that's really how it happened. If I was here in Canada, I may be more of a hockey person, but I didn't grow up here. I was raised in Florida, and we didn't play hockey down there. And that's a big part of the difference for me. But I love all those teams. I want every Toronto team to win. This is my home city, my hometown, and this is the city I root for in all sports, Toronto. Now, sometimes I root for Winnipeg over Toronto in the NHL, though. Carlos saying, morning, fellow freaks. Good to see you, Carlo JS, a great Raptor freak. G saying, Jordan Poole called Green a soft-ass bitch. He's lame and can meet me anytime he wants. Sorry, I meant Jordan Poole's dad said that. It's funny. Draymond's coming out with interviews about the Poole incident more recently, and he's saying, look, I don't hit people for no reason. He had a very good reason for why I decked him last summer. And I believe Draymond then. It's like, dude, who knows how much Jordan had been talking trash up until that point, and that was just the breaking point for Draymond. And some of the stuff I heard that he was saying to Draymond was totally out of pocket for saying to somebody like him with as many rings as he has and where he is in his esteem, in his career, and who he should be. And no, you shouldn't be talking to him like that, Jordan Poole. And you got what you deserved. You got a deck to the mouth, and now you're exiled to Washington. That's just how it goes. I mean, listen, don't fuck around with people like Draymond. Draymond's an institution in Golden State, obviously. Seymour's laughing about it. Okay, Fiercely saying, Malika Andrews, not that she provides unreliable news, appreciates her passion, but at times the relevancy is weird, pointing out criminal cases upon drafting or Missoula's arrest from a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I know what she's doing. She wants to make sure things are getting fairly pointed out just in case. The Joe Mazzulla stuff is kind of important. That was a really fucked up, messed up situation that happened in college with Joe. So I don't get mad at her for pointing this stuff out. Maybe she's tacky for bringing up Brandon Miller stuff during the draft recently. But in some ways, somebody needed to say something about this. Her as a woman wants to make it very important and known that a woman died earlier this year that was murdered by a gun that Brandon Miller gave to his friend, and he went and shot his girlfriend to death. And in some ways, she's trying to be the voice for that dead woman and saying nobody's forgotten about this. Just because this guy's coming in and getting drafted in the NBA, realize somebody lost their life, and that this is part of what's important. She's speaking for the victims. In some ways, Anita Hill, when she stood on that years and years ago and said that stuff about Clarence Thomas and Long Dong Silver and how he's like inappropriately saying all this shit, we should have listened to her then, because now this motherfucker has been in the Supreme Court for so long, and he's just messing up the states with all kinds of like corruption and crazy ass rulings with the Supreme Court outlawing abortion and stuff. We should have listened to Anita Hill. And Malika Andrews may be this a broadcaster that's making sure voices and things and stuff that's from the past needs to be put out there and fully understood the whole picture. So I get it. Maybe she's tacky with her timing, and maybe she could do it a little bit better. But I think it's relevant and important for her to do that, just because, in some ways, the women that don't speak out or get poo-pooed or not listened to, like Anita Hill, they need more of a platform to be heard and understood. And that woman who died in the incident with Brandon Miller's friend, her life matters. And in some ways, that's why she does it. I get it, though. I get it. And she listen, she may not be perfect. And, maybe there's a better version of what she's trying to do coming down the road that doesn't have all the tabloidy or like tackiness or like unreliable stuff like you're saying. But, she's a step in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. Tom Duke saying, I like that nurse infiltration idea. Yeah, maybe we will want to love Nick still because he's going to destroy Philadelphia from the inside out. G saying Delano in a quote ended with saying that he left. Okay, he's saying he left. Well, he had to because we didn't offer him anything. I don't think we gave him any kind of offer. It may be that we were waiting around and like doing the same thing with Jeff and them, and we expected him to wait around and maybe he'd get his contract. And maybe the Celtics came in and said, "Look, don't wait for the Raptors. They may not even re-sign you, dude. They may cut you. We will sign you right now." So okay, so he's saying he left. Well, they decided not to offer to him. I'm pretty sure that if you look at it technically, all right, he left, but partly because he had to, because they didn't offer him anything. I've not heard that they offered him anything. They let him walk, and there's a couple different ways to like describe it, I guess. Fiercely saying when he got the job, not necessary. Players and coaches surely need background checks prior to represent the NBA. You're talking about with Joe, that her bringing up the stuff. Well, in some ways, if people don't know about his background and what happened in that incident, he said, listen, he said he was a dumb kid at that time, and he was really wrong, and he's embarrassed by it. So in some ways, it's kind of like he's owned up the mistake and he's grown as a person. He shouldn't have that thrown in his face all the time. I get it. But if he's getting to a new position and he's being put more in a forefront, in some ways everybody needs all the information about him. And that's all she's trying to do. In some ways, once again, she's trying to be a voice for the woman who's victimized by Joe and his teammates from that incident in college. So she's trying to be a voice for the voiceless, the nameless, the people that can't say anything in their stead. She's doing that as a woman in their place. And I can't fault her for that. I really can't. Elijah's saying, no, Malika Andrews is an evil woman. She downs black people and men whenever she gets a chance. She is egotistical and thinks she knows more than players. We need more Chinny. Chinny from WNBA in her place. Okay, right on. I get that, Elijah. Listen, I don't know if she's evil. I think she's a very hot topic person in the ESPN world at this point, and she's a lightning rod. In some ways, she's taking the brunt of misogyny. There's some people saying, just shut up. What is she doing on my TV trying to make me feel bad about race and sex issues and stuff like that? I get it. She's a lightning rod in some ways. I'm going to stand up for her. You guys can not like her. We can disagree on this. I don't even see her hardly that much. It could be that I watch her a bit. I'm more like you guys. You're like, you know what? She is full of shit. But from what I've heard, she's kind of necessary in the ways that I've tried to describe so far on the stream. Let's see. Carlos saying you hit that on the head, Lex. Raptors represent diversity and progress in contrast to the Leafs. The Leafs are old Canada, the status quo, keep it white, keep it right, keep it this way, kind of bullshit in some ways. And that's the difference. That's the fight. And in some ways, Toronto is much more like the Raptors than the Leafs. But Canada as a whole may be more like the Leafs than the Raptors. So that's kind of part of the push pull too. Is like in the city, Raptors. Whoa, we got like more kind of Raptors fans in Toronto proper, and there may be more Leaf fans all over Ontario in the rural areas where there's not as many black people, there's not as many people from other countries, and it's very, very white communities. There may be more hockey diehard Leaf fans there than Raptor fans. So it's really kind of, in some ways, it's an urban versus rural kind of thing. There's a lot of strong Leaf fans in the city still, but it's not the same in some ways as the Raptors. You kind of put it that way, maybe. Monique saying Tristan Forbes, content creator and Raptors photographer for a couple seasons, now leaving us and moving on. He was one of the Wayne Embry Fellowship people, I believe. Tristan Forbes. He was that tall black gentleman that's been taking pictures of the Raptors for the last few years. I've seen him all over the place, and he does really good work. Who knows? Maybe his fellowship just ran out at this point, Monique. Maybe he's going on to something new. He's got a great new job lined up for him. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if he was still taking pictures of the team, but just not on the fellowship with the Wayne Embry Fellowship stuff. So we'll see. Maybe he's going to another market. Maybe he did get a really good job out of it. Who knows? Wishing Tristan Forbes well. And thank you for great pictures of the Raptors for the last few years. Great coverage of him. Yeah. Let's see. Wayne saying, Lex, that picture of Dick is not very masculine. I hope it's not going to be a major promo for him. Ball should be in his hands, not his feet. Just saying. Wayne, this is an interesting take. I picked that picture mainly because the ball says Adidas on it, and it kind of is an Adidas picture with Gradey. We've seen this picture in a couple places. When he had that, when he got signed to the Raptors or drafted to us, the Raptor has a picture exactly like that, and they said, "Oh, we look like we're twins." I get it. In some ways, Gradey. In some ways, he's challenging different things and stuff like that. Or the idea what an athlete is, or being serious. Maybe he's not confused or worried about his masculinity. So in some ways, it's not he's worried about that concern. I get what you're saying. In some ways, it's a dopey, goofy picture, and he's holding it with his feet. I don't know. Maybe that shows he's a good soccer player. I don't know. But it's just a picture. Let's not try and read into it too much. But this is actually a good window to seeing how gender stereotypes or like looking at gender roles is kind of confining in a way. Why can't Gradey lay on the ground and look kind of whimsical like this with the ball in his feet? Is it a really big deal, actually? Does it mean he's gay? Does it mean anything weird about him? No, he's just doing a goofy pose in the end. Fiercely saying a very good take on Leafs fan versus Raptors. They may be afraid passion for hockey dies down and basketball takes over, a growing fan base representing diversity. Yeah, it's a bigger thing than just sports. It's like they're worried about their whole country and immigration and a lot of newcomers coming. And it's happening all around the world. This is something that every country is dealing with right now is immigration policies. The States, obviously, with the Mexican border, things in Europe with opening up for refugees coming there, and people are dealing with different issues with migrating populations coming into their country. And, there's different various kind of issues that can happen from this, social problems and different things. Now, much like I've described on this channel recently, that a lot of the criminal stuff that's happening around Toronto is overblown to make people scared and fearful, to try and get increased budgets for police, or even like, in Europe, there's some countries where there are awful situations with crime from newcomers, and they get put on blast, and then everybody gets very xenophobic and they want to close up the borders and say, no, we're not letting any more people from Syria come here. We're not letting anybody come from these places anymore. Just because they have issues, we shouldn't let them come here. They're causing crime here. Well, on the whole, a lot of the people that come to these countries are not bad people and they're not criminals. But there are a few bad examples that do really horrendous bad things that really paint a bad picture for everybody else. But because those stories get picked up, they get sensationalized, and then a whole kind of mentality about immigrants coming to their countries is like, shut the borders off. Don't let them in. They're coming in and they're all criminals. That's not true. A lot of these people are good people, kind-hearted people, good citizens, and would be great additions to these countries. It's just that we cherry pick the stories that are absolutely horrendous and awful, and we put them in our head, and then we paint everybody with that brush. And that's not fair. That's totally not fair. Now, I'm not going to tell countries how to do their immigration policies. They're going to have to all decide what fits their particular situations and how much they can actually take people in. But there is going to be something to this for the rest of, for a long, long time. Climate change and all kinds of different things like the Ukraine war, different things happen around the world, and people have to leave and move somewhere real quick. And it's better for us as a country that's all immigrants for the most part, except for the native people that were here already. We should be letting the door stay open for people coming behind us because we had the door open for us to come here. And we'd be hypocrites not to help people out in the same kind of situation. But there's a balance. We got to figure this out where it's healthy for a country to have safeness and way it should be with, and also not letting too many people in so that it's overwhelming the public sector and structure of things and everything too. So there's very, very much a fine line governments have to take with immigration policies at this point. Migration is going to happen. It's going to happen even more. There's going to be more push of people trying to move to different places. We shouldn't be afraid of that. We should be very happy to get newcomers coming here to enhance and enrich and be a part of our society in a very productive, great way. And the bad apples may make it look bad, but it should not make you xenophobic and worried about people coming here because most people in this world just want to live and be happy. And they just want an opportunity for that. So it's a very interesting balance at this point. But I will say the way the world's going, there's going to be more and more people trying to migrate every which way because their land won't grow crops anymore. It's too hot. It's war where I'm living. There's no job opportunity where I am. That's what makes people move. And it's just a part of the way the world is. And it's going to get worse because climate change will make migration go up. Trust me, it really very much will. Let's see. Carlos saying, hang on. It jumped, of course. One thing I am wondering about is why doesn't NBA players see Masai, the only African president in the NBA, and have that factor in playing for the Raptors, or is that already a factor? I think that is a factor, Carlo. I think that is actually a factor. I think that is something that's made it very attractive for Raptor players here. That we see the bonds between Siakam and OG and Scotty with Masai. And, in some ways, those are much deeper bonds than Daryl Morey is going to have with any of the Sixers. In some ways, it's because they can identify with each other as black men. In some ways, it's just because Masai has that kind of thing about him. So it's not even necessarily because Masai's black. It's just because of Masai's personality and how he carries himself and how he values the Raptors being a family organization. But this is definitely a factor already. You're exactly hitting another nail on the head, Carlo. That is definitely a factor. And in some ways, that is part of the reason why it's attractive to come to Toronto, because you're working for Masai. And people like that. They definitely do like that. Iceman saying, Malika didn't say a peep when Dana White slapped his wife on camera while she called out an alleged sexual assault where no charges were ever filed while speaking on Adrian Payne's death on TV. Yeah, okay. She may have bad judgment and not being the same with every single person. I definitely say she should be critical of Dana White. She's going to be critical of black people and different people. And this, she better be doing it to everybody. And Dana White can use a lot of criticism. Trust me. All right. Well, I'm glad y'all are painting more of a picture of her. As I said, I try not to watch ESPN. I may not be the most fair judge of this, but in some ways, I want to stand up for her because I do understand what she's trying to do, even if she's not doing it well, or maybe she's kind of doing it unfairly. Okay, thank you, Iceman, for more of the picture. Logical saying, as owners diverse, you will see a lot more representation in the higher level with communications among owners being key. So you see similar people being hired to have someone that can be communicated to. Yeah, that makes sense. And we want more of that, more representation in all places in the world, in all avenues of jobs and life and everywhere. More women doing this, more black men doing this, more black women doing this, more Asian people doing this, more native people doing this, more everybody doing everything and getting their chances. The Supreme Court striking down affirmative action is very dangerous and detrimental. It takes away a lot of good hard work in certain ways. Now, I understand some people are not for affirmative action, but they don't understand what it does exactly. It isn't that they're just giving things to people that don't deserve it. They're giving them a chance to have a path to get somewhere that they very much do deserve it. That a lot of these paths get just shut down. In fact, that's what's going to happen now with the new ruling by the Supreme Court, is that they're making it so they don't have to fill quotas to have diversity. Well, this is a huge problem because in the history of universities in the United States, they were very much discriminating against minorities and allowing enrollment. Well, they had to keep them honest by having affirmative action. But now that that's out the window, yeah. And they're even saying, yeah, you can discriminate people against gay people as a business. They're really fucked up what Supreme Court's doing down there right now. Really, really fucked up, messed up. Let's keep going. Iceman saying, to top it all off, Adrian Payne was shot to death while trying to protect a woman who was involved in a domestic violence situation. Yeah, that sounds like she was just wrong on that one. She's just wrong on that one. Well, she's outspoken and opinionated. She's going to be wrong sometime. Hopefully, she owns up to her mistakes and apologizes for it. If she doesn't do that, then I'm not a fan of that. But if she is, speaking out of her ass and making mistakes like I will sometimes, I'll apologize for it. Hopefully she's doing the same. Adriana's saying, my grandma's doing okay. There is just a lot more work that needs to be completed on her house. I'm grateful for all the support. Thank you. There you go, Adriana. We hope Baba's having a nice sunshiny day. Maybe you can go see her again today and hang out with her and make sure she's all right. Mike's saying Larry was progressive with his vision toward people, so he understood what Masai was and gave him the chance to run things the way he wants, and he's been proven right in my books. Larry's the man. Well, Larry is allowing him since he's protecting him, but it really was Tim that hired him and brought him here and got him ensconced in the Raptors organization, Tim Leiweke. But Larry Tannenbaum protects him to this day. Carlos saying, I think it was Leiweke who put Masai in charge. Yeah, Carlos correcting him too there. Mike saying Larry was the guy that needed to say yes to Masai. The changes Masai wanted were owner decisions like wanting a G League team and firing a bunch of people on contracts. So yeah, Colangelo, Tim were part of it. Leiweke really does get a lot of this credit. I mean, he is the father of OVO Center. He's the father of the Raptors 905. He's the father of TFC. He was such a huge impact for the very brief time that he was around MLSE, that he had a huge impact. I wish he had hung around longer, seriously. But he's that kind of guy. He just likes to come in and make huge changes and move on to the next thing. In fact, he started working on the Los Angeles is trying to get the Olympics there, and he became part of that committee going from MLSE. He went there to try and help them get the Olympics. So he always likes big, huge projects and continuing to move and not stay somewhere very long. Well, he had a huge impact on our team. And a lot of it is Leiweke's credit. Tannenbaum's great, and he is part of like protecting Masai since. And sure, he probably did have to sign off on that stuff, Mike. But the origins of these ideas is Tim Leiweke. Carlos right. Carlos saying, yeah, that's true. I don't buy the idea that the board opposes Masai. Masai doubled the value of the franchise. Why would they want to go against that? Yeah, it's only because they think he's been paid so much and they just want some of his money. Ted Rogers III is like, you make too much money because I'm not getting that money. Fucking asshole. I hate that guy so much. Let's see. Mike's saying also, and Masai had another request, an extra amount to Giants of Africa, and the Nuggets said no to that. Larry said yes to giving like $20 million to Giants of Africa. Yeah, that's probably a big factor in Masai coming to Toronto too. Was the platform to do some of the things that he's wanted to do with developing Africa as being more basketball continent and all kinds of other things like that. We have made very much his humanitarian stuff a part of his job title and what he's doing, and he may not have gotten that opportunity with any other franchise in the league. So that is a very special part of why Masai is in Toronto also. You want to know why he loves Toronto so much? He wants to stay here? It's because we allow him to do his projects like Giants of Africa. And other teams may not have, yeah. Wayne saying, when is our training camp? I don't think our training camp starts till September. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the rest of July is kind of gonna be kind of janky and weird. It's gonna be very hard for me to make content on this channel, but I will. I'll manufacture stuff. But and then August, we're expecting Rico Hines runs to start up, and that'll give us a good distraction. Hopefully, we'll have a lot of good clips to react to and watch then. But it really isn't until September, and these guys will get together the first week of September, and then they'll have preseason games start up, and that's when all that stuff will happen. So we still got like a month and a half, Wayne, at least. Iceman is saying at Carlo, ask Ed Rogers, who actively fought plans to keep Masai as head of Toronto Raptors when his most recent contract was being negotiated. Yeah, he's an idiot. And in some ways, he's like, he doesn't like make money, obviously. He's a dumbass, honestly. Ted Rogers III is one of the worst. His home family hates him. Let's just put it that way. His sister and his mother hate him. Like his own mother is not happy with him. Thinks that he's a piece of garbage. So that says all you need to know about Ted Rogers right there. Ted Rogers III. Yeah, Elijah's saying, can we please do the point guard hierarchy idea? That's a topic I would really like to talk about tomorrow whenever we get a chance. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, Elijah. Thursday, Think Tank, talking about point guard on the Raptors roster and who we think should be getting that spot. We may even do a poll today. I'll post it, and we'll say who should be the starting point guard of the Raptors, and we'll look at the results, and we'll talk about all the different looks as who could be starting the point guard. You join us tomorrow at 9:30, Elijah. We'll definitely talk about that tomorrow. Monique saying, one thing I forgot to note with Jama back, I see him back working with Giants of Africa again this summertime. Memories. By the way, Carmen Dick is on socials with WStream Lex. Keep at it. Cool. Carmen Dick has social media accounts. Okay. Well, we did see her rendezvous with Wendy Sparks recently, and I'm wondering if we're going to get a courtside moms episode with Gradey's mom. That would be fun to see Kem's mom interviewing Gradey's mom about being an NBA player's mother. So we'll have to see if Carmen Dick gets her own courtside moms episode coming out soon. That would be awesome. Stargate saying, with all due respect, Lex, Malika Andrews is not what you think she is. She is put there to push anti-strong black male narrative. It's very obvious among the black community, even other black women. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm glad y'all round my perspective of things. Once again, I'm not coming from an educated point of view because I do not watch ESPN. I very much just kind of hear the stories after the fact. Now, if somebody's being woke and kind of like being protective of something, I'll usually side with them. But if she's out of pocket, and in some ways, maybe she's being used as a weird tool to like you said, she's anti-strong black male. I have a problem with that, especially if she's only coming after black guys and not white guys that are doing the same thing. That is an issue I would have for sure. You're all right. Thank you for fleshing out more, you guys. Iceman, Stargate, everybody who's giving me more of an opinion. And Quick Takes is saying, no doubt, 100%. See, this is the thing. Y'all can win me over and give me more informed. I will change my opinion. Randolph saying, Mark Dagnall and the Thunder agreed to a multi-year contract extension after playing birth. Wow. Are players from the African League allowed to play in the NBA? Interesting. That's an interesting question. The African League is getting more and more like talent. That's crazy. Some of the highlights I'm seeing from some of the African League stuff over there is really crazy. Like there's some good players going to be coming. We'll have to see how this pipeline works. Obviously, Masai may have the dibs in some ways just because he's on the ground more and involved in it more. But other teams could very well be plucking players from Africa and putting in the NBA very soon in different ways. We'll have to see. I think it's the proper protocols as far as they've got to declare for the draft. They got to go through all the proper avenues to be actually able to play in the NBA. So we'll have to see. You get an agent, you declare for the draft, see if you get drafted, see if a team wants you or signs you as an undrafted or something like that. It's all the regular ways that somebody would get in the league. Now, is there some guy who's just going to be so good that they're like, oh, you got to get this dude from Africa right now. And in the middle of the season, he shows up, something like Jose Calderon or Matt Thomas, who just came from another league and they're older and they all of a sudden come into the league like Arvydas Sabonis did way back. This could happen. There could be guys that excel over there, play maybe most of their career, and then they come over here around 30, and all of a sudden they're like really good pros in the NBA after a bit of a career over in that league. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that all that kind of going back and forth happens with the African League over there now, and the NBA is really just getting on its feet. and it hasn't been around for very many years. So as it gets more established, there probably will be a pipeline of players coming from it and showing up in the NBA. I'll bet you. Mike saying W stream, I like that. Quick take saying that Malika take is right on. Okay, good stuff. Malika covers basketball only. I don't even know. Quick takes. I don't know. I shouldn't really be commenting on her because I'm not educated enough, obviously. Either way, whatever. It's all good. All right, let me just see. Yeah, big news coming out in the last couple of days that the Raptors are very much valuing OG, and they're not interested in trading him. In fact, they're laughing at trade deals for him. So much good, interesting stuff going on around the league in different places. Suns getting bowl. Daryl Morey's really upset with James Harden on the weird shit that's going on with there. Miles Bridges getting brought back finally and reintroduced with the Hornets because he's off suspension. He will be playing for them this year. He's apologizing for the pain he caused last season, being missing, stuff like that. Dylan Brooks thinks Fred's going to be an elite passer and help hook him up. Y'all, check your WNBA fantasy teams. Definitely make sure your team's filled out for today. They've resumed games since after the All-Star break, and there is games until Sunday on this matchup. So you get your team lined up quick. Fiercey saying, I'm a black female, and in second, the fact Malika may be used as a puppet. I'm hoping it's not coming from her, which would make it worse. Okay, this is good. See, I need this kind of perspective from all you guys. And like I said, I'm probably not educated enough to talk about her. And y'all probably know way better than me. Well, Fiercey, I very much trust. Talking to Fiercey for over a year now. And, all right. I'll go with you guys. I really do trust you guys because honestly, as a whole, y'all are kind of all saying the same thing. So I'll amend how I deal with Malika Andrews in the future and maybe not stand up for her, just kind of say, okay, she's right. Because she probably isn't in some situation. You think she's being used as a puppet. In some ways, you'd rather that than her coming up with these takes on her own. Oh, they must be bad takes. Elijah's saying D Wade's son is in African League. Hopefully, he gets a shot for him and his family's sake. Would make a great story. Zaire Wade. Okay, cool. Wade's doing all kinds of cool stuff right now, buying a ownership stake in the Chicago Sky. He's also an owner for the Jazz at this point. All right. Well, thanks for watching me today, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thanks again, David. This is the big trophy they gave me last Saturday at the Raptor Freak meet and greet. Basketball content creator award, YouTube award from the Raptor Freaks at the Raptor Freak meet and greet. I'm so touched. Once again, Davis Aborin and everybody who was involved in getting this for me. Thank you so much. This thing is heavy. This is not a little prize and award. So if you see this behind me, you know that's what this is. This is a basketball creators award that you guys gave me, and I'm really, really touched by that. It's so awesome. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, Thursday Think Tank. Let's talk about the point guard hierarchy for the Toronto Raptors and the way it looks right now. And we will go deep on the Think Tank. Thanks for watching me once again. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And y'all have a great Wednesday. Just count your blessings and have gratitude. And life is always so much better and easier to live. Serge has been posting a lot of tweets recently, Serge Ibaka, about having gratitude and happiness. I think he's in a weird place where he understands he's not on a team right now and his NBA career could be coming to a close. But instead of focusing on that and feeling like a victim or whining about it, Serge is turning the other way. He's saying, I find happiness and gratitude every single day. I look to see what I am very much grateful for. And happiness happens to me naturally because gratitude happens first. And this is really the key to being happy is find something you're grateful for. And then happiness is the natural next step that you will feel after feeling grateful. So y'all take some Serge Ibaka advice. Thank you for watching me, and let's go Raptors! Yeah!